Hey, where's the vacuum? Let's vacuum out these tracks, Blair, for the first time in like 3 years.
At Rust Bros,
Well, I mean, Patrick runs a pretty clean shop, right?
Yeah.
Just like us.
Mike and Blair are getting ready for a visit from a high-end builder.
Ah, I hear a diesel. Oh,
Yeah, man.
And the return of a 1948 Diamond T truck they've been restoring for a client.
She goes down. Oh, right to the ground.
Nice.
Patrick.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Holy
Freaking awesome, man.
Patrick and his team at PMC have been helping us with the build. He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, we did a ton of work on this thing.
Ah,
How you doing, brother?
2 months ago,
Guys, meet Mr. T.
Mike took on a corporate project for Rob Druitt of Western Gas Co.
I know you wanted AC, you wanted the turbo, you wanted the intercooler. Well,
Absolutely.
there's some major issues.
But when Rob's wish list was threatened by structural problems,
Force on here could just fold the frame up.
First thing, we should get a frame guy here to actually look at it.
Right.
Mike called the best in the biz
Frame looks like it was pieced together. For sure, some engineering involved in that.
to get the build back on track.
Let's do it.
You know what? Why don't we get this thing in your
Let's
shop?
get it up on the hoist and see what you guys did underneath there. PMC has a very good rep.
Dad, keep her coming. Beauty.
We just want to make sure all the issues we had have been dealt with.
Start at the front.
Oh, look at that
Yeah.
brace.
And it's actually undersized and re-welded all through there, right?
Oh, cool. Patrick and his crew, they reinforced the frame back under the front suspension, and then they came down, went around the oil pan. But you guys had to figure that out.
Serious head scratcher, man.
Stroke of genius.
We relocated the intercooler so we get some good airflow there. Threw the exhaust on, of course.
4-inch all the way back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
It runs, it drives, it stops, it steers. I mean, amazing job. Well done. Okay, well, right on, Patrick. He saved us a ton of heartache, headache, and mental anguish.
So, now we're done.
It's our
You
turn.
know what? It's your turn now.
I know Rob wants it done for his company's 20th anniversary, so like they say, we better get cracking. We're down to the last 3 weeks before the 20th anniversary of Western Gas Co. There's a long way to go and a short time to get there. There's gonna be a lot of work, a lot of welding, a lot of metal fab, but it's up to us to carry it across the finish line. Hopefully we can do your guys' work proud.
I know you will. I know you will.
Set the standard pretty high there, Patrick.
Can't wait to see it.
Okay, this thing needs an oil change.
An hour later, Mike's checking off a few basics before starting bodywork on the Diamond T.
Come on, baby. Ah, like for once, I'd like to do that without getting dirty. Anyway, where's my oil? Whoa, are you kidding me? I told those guys, don't touch that oil. Who has oil? Ah, Alexa, call Avery.
Calling Avery.
He's the only guy I know with a diesel. Come on, Ave, I need you.
Hello.
Avery, I'm doing an oil change on the Diamond T. I'm short 5 quarts. You got 5 quarts of 1540?
You know what, Mike? I got more important things to worry about than your oil right now. This auction sale is coming up. Got a hornet's nest in the backyard. I can't move on without dealing with this thing.
Sounds like an issue, not an ish me. Avery's auction, it's coming up in 3 weeks, but there's still a long way to go to get his yard cleaned up. I really need this oil, buddy. I'll go so far as to buy you supper.
You come and help me with these hornets, and I'll change your oil for you. How does that sound?
Sounds like an offer I can't refuse. Avery needs help with the hornet's nest. I don't have time, but I think he's at the end of his rope here. Okay, Ave. See you in a couple minutes. Alexa, hang up. Okay, bag and tag. Are you kidding me? Alexa, add resealable sandwich bags to my shopping list.
I've put resealable sandwich bags on your shopping list.
Avery, so where's his nest?
Well, it's right here.
30 minutes later, on the other side of town,
Whoa, that's a big one.
There's already been a couple people stung. We need to do something about this. This auction, there's lots left to do. I need to clean up the auction yard and organize it. But you know what? This hornet's nest, until it gets dealt with, there's nothing happening. Be careful, they're not happy.
Well, they're just the yellow jackets, aren't
No,
they?
they're not yellow. They're black.
Are you kidding me?
Look
The
out.
black ones are way worse. I mean, those things are,
Mike.
well, I mean, we gotta get close enough to wrap them. Oh, that's it! One got me right between the eyes.
Ah, keep going.
These wasps are dangerous, they're aggressive, they have to go. Oh, Know what it says about black-faced hornets? They're one of the only wasps that will attack anyone or anything. They also have smooth stingers that they can sting you over and over again. It says most professionals dispose of the nests at night when they're sleeping. I think if we come at night with our gloves, plug the hole, wrap the nest, cut it out. If we get up there quick, we should have a chance.
Okay, let's try it.
Okay. Oh, hey,
What?
give me my oil now, just in case we don't survive the night.
Ooh, that's freaking nasty.
Back at the Russ Bros shop,
Back of the cab is caved in.
body work on the Diamond T is already hitting roadblocks.
Shoot. The roof on the Diamond T is thundered. There's some deep gouges across the back. Trying to repair this roof on the truck, there's areas you're just not gonna reach with a hammer. Well, here we go. So the best way to repair all the dents is to just whack the roof right off, run it through the English wheel, and then weld her back on. It's nice heavy steel, should be the best way to go. Nice. All right.
With the roof work done,
Holy.
Blair gets the 13-inch tires in place.
Blair,
Hey, man.
looks good, Blair. This is gonna be one sick ride.
Yes.
Wow, these tires look pretty good on here, eh?
They're freaking huge.
They're meaty, beady, big, and bouncy.
So imagine if we had a fender on that.
Yes.
So, the tire is way wider than the actual fender.
Whoa. Basically, he got 6 inches.
Yeah. And then this is all the way down. Once it's up in the air, we don't want to see any of the top of the tire, do we?
Well, how high up does it go?
You want me to lift it up and see?
Yeah. Somehow we've got to get those fenders to cover those tires and wheels. Plus, we've got 10 inches of vertical travel with the air ride.
Now, if we lift the fender up to where that was,
Adds a whole other layer of complexity to this build. Well, the thing is, if he rides halfway, it's gonna fit there.
that's totally personal preference. I don't know where freaking ride height is.
Yep, that ride height, that's where he's gonna be driving it. That's the most critical part. Well, then I think you gotta get Rob here. He's paying us to do it.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Blair.
You bet.
Avery,
What?
That evening at Wildman,
I've been thinking about this all day.
Mike returns to help Avery deal with the hornets in his yard.
So I brought my Milwaukee Sawzall. What we're gonna do, we're gonna sneak up to the nest. I'm gonna put on my big blues, rush up, and just hold the hole closed. And you're gonna do the top horizontal cut, the 3 vertical cuts, throw it in the double garbage bag. Unless you got a better plan.
Mike, I've done a lot of dumb things, but nothing quite this stupid. Mike thinks he's a bee wrangler for some reason.
Oh, wait a sec. Gotta protect my face.
You look like an idiot.
I don't care.
I think this is a horrible idea.
Let's do it.
Mike's gonna get me in the hospital.
Okay, we got the double bag. You carry that. This is exciting, eh, Abe? The nest has to be moved away from where we're having the auction. Far, far away. Why am I having second thoughts about this, Avery?
Mike, I'm not even having first thoughts about it.
What could go wrong?
Okay, set the light up, Mike.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Abe, hurry up. Hurry up, Abe!
Oh my God.
Hurry up! Hurry the up! God, they're coming out! They're coming out! They're coming out! Hurry up! Get on my glove! Hurry up! Hurry up! Okay, where's the bag? Here! Open up! Bag! Okay, close it up, close it up. Let's go, let's go, let's go! Holy! Tape it up!
Hold it.
Oh, Jesus! You okay, little buddy?
Yeah, they're not very good animals.
The plan worked. We've got him in the bag. I don't really want to put this in the seat of my car and drive anywhere.
Why don't you take it home and sleep overnight with it?
All we've got to do now is put the nest somewhere away from Avery's place. Okay? Got to be someplace in the bush where they got a chance.
Just right over here and let him loose over here.
Oh, in the park, where people go.
Everybody can see him.
No. Hey! Here's what we have started.
At Russ Bros,
Let me take a look at this.
it's 2 weeks before the Diamond T's deadline,
What'd you guys do to my roof? Where's my dents? I want them back.
and Mike's brought in the client Rob to discuss last details.
Remember how hammered this was?
Unbelievable. Excellent, boys.
Okay. Rob's a good guy, good client. He's happy with the work done.
Beautiful.
Now we've got to pick his brains about fenders and get this build finished on schedule.
So, how much of the wheel do you want to show at ride height?
That's not all the way down, is it?
Drop it right to the ground. The most difficult part of the build is having to work around this air ride system. We need to know exactly what he wants for ride height because we can't afford to do it twice.
That's all the way down.
Yep.
Damn, that's low.
See, that's the problem with your air ride.
Yeah. I'd like about half the tires showing, maybe about that much.
At ride height.
Yeah, right.
You want me to lift it up and see?
Yep. Probably right there. Actually, you know what, man? That doesn't look bad at all. I think that'll work, boys. If that works for you guys, that works for me.
Yeah, we just had to have something to start with.
No, I appreciate it.
Basically, now we know exactly what the client wants. Should be a clear, straight run to the finish line.
Okay, let me suggest something, because I'm not digging this real estate in here. Like, that's a lot of metal.
But you got to cover a lot of room, Rob.
I totally get it. Would you be able to knock 2 inches off there and add 2 inches on here?
That's a lot of welding.
Yep.
I mean, it's all about...
Well, I mean, if we're gonna have our name on it, I want it done right.
There you go. Rob, he doesn't want the width of the fenders to be all on one. He wants us to split it up. Tell him that the budget's going to increase. He says, make it happen.
And this is gonna meet our deadline, is it?
Yeah. One way or the other. I'll
Beautiful.
talk to you. Blair's not very happy, but unfortunately, the client is always right. Perfect. Thanks for coming out, Rob.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, man, we're on it.
Back to work.
Okay, gentle.
Gentle. My middle name.
Across the valley,
Hang on, that's good. Who's Charlie? Chris.
Avery's enlisted an old friend
That's good. Chris, that's good. Back it up.
to help him corral auction items at a storage property.
You're just a bull in the china shop. I got 2 weeks to get ready for this auction. I got multiple yards.
Perfect.
I need to move stuff from one yard to the other yard. That's good. Set it down. Grab that other one. It takes a lot of work to get everything prepped. Ow! Now that this hornet's nest is dealt with, okay, let's get going.
Good.
I can finally get back to focusing on this auction.
Careful, there's something back there.
Well, it won't be for long. But you know what? Right now, it's very stressful. So, Chris, how do you think I'm going to do on this auction sale?
I think you're gonna do all right on some stuff. I think people are gonna be expecting a lot more vehicles. You don't exactly have vehicles.
I've collected a lot of specialty stuff over the years. Okay. And Chris is giving me a hard time about it. Lift it up.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping he's wrong. Didn't really want it off. Not too sure how this auction's gonna go or who's gonna buy this stuff. That's good. But you know what? There is an ass for every seat.
Thank you, Captain Safety. That worked out perfectly.
Who's gonna buy my junk?
This thing's not so light.
I need random people such as myself that have an open mind.
Perfect.
Collectors of fine artifacts.
We actually didn't break anything there.
Right now, it's horribly overwhelming. I need to clean up the auction yard. I don't know if I'm gonna be ready in time or not. Okay, let's go. Almost running out of room.
No, let's go grab more.
I bet you Avery's just freaking, man.
Well, I told him we can't sell his items the way he had them.
Early the next morning,
I'm hoping he does okay, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean...
want him to be successful as well.
Yeah.
Mike and auctioneer Todd Schwint are headed to Avery's for a yard inspection.
There we go, right here.
This is not the same property, though. Are we at the right property?
Looks a lot different, unreal.
Oh, look at this.
Somebody did a lot of work. I am actually amazed at how good Avery's yard looks. When we first came here, there were weeds that high.
Can't even photograph this stuff unless we get these weeds down.
Avery! What? I don't know who he has helping him, but I'm sure they've been working their ass off.
Get away from this house!
Get out of there!
This is amazing, Avery. This is nothing like a month ago. I don't even recognize it, actually. It doesn't look like the same yard. You got your vehicles all sorted. You got your generators on your trailers. This is a relief to me.
I tell you what, I did not realize how much I had.
I'm shocked that this place looks as good as it does. We can have an auction here. Well, let's go have a look at it.
Come on back over here.
Holy, this is a little bit more than I expected.
I got some stuff. I got a fairly diverse collection. I got army trucks, I got jet skis, I got boats, all kinds of stuff that the average person would not own. I even got a couple lawnmowers, never been used.
This thing's a good truck.
And it's a heavy spec truck. Had that truck for over 25 years.
It's About time to get rid of it.
This is a good truck. I have slept in that truck at 40 below with the motor running in it. I'm looking around here at my yard, and it's a lot of memories. This cat, I think it's an 85.
Really, that old?
There's some stuff here I've had for longer than I've had my child. It's got an 8.3 Cummins in it. Pumps are good. Tracks are good. It's probably worth somewhere between $45,000 to $50,000.
Yeah, the thing
fact-
is, there is a few select guys that can buy this and use this. It's a specialty item.
Yeah.
My experience is selling classic cars. For us to extend into selling a snowcat, a weed whipper, and then off to a stove, is super challenging for us. What I want to see is some of your higher end stuff.
I got a Stealth over here.
Couple people asked me about it.
Back when it was new, I think they paid like 60 grand for this.
Holy.
I upgraded the turbos in it. I upgraded the fuel system in it. Of course, I wanted more power out of it,
So you blew it up.
and it melted a piston out of it. I don't know, Todd. I hope I get at least 15 grand out of it.
It's going to sell.
Well, I guarantee you it'll sell.
Yeah.
But what it sells for, who knows?
Is this car lauded yet, though?
I don't know.
Well, there's no number on it. How can it be lauded?
Where'd the Porsche come from?
From Porsche.
And the Thunderbird. What the frick, man? Where'd these come from here?
Hey, now you finally got some stuff Todd's in.
Are those lauded?
No.
Those aren't lauded. Are those selling?
Yeah.
Well, Avery, I'm the auction guy. I need to know what we're selling here.
It's kind of like Christmas, Todd.
Okay, so we'll get those lauded, Avery. If we have a few classic cars, we'll draw people in. Of course, there's no guarantees.
The unreserved thing, it actually frightens me a little bit.
Dave. Well, of course, Avery's worried about the no reserve. He has a method of economics we call chauffeuronomics. He wins, everybody loses. Well, at a no reserve auction, his junk is worth whatever somebody's willing to pay that day.
Well, I tell you what, I've been...
Look who's here. Coming in for a feed, Donnie?
I'm here to make sure everything stays honest at the auction sale. So she's no reserve.
I'm well aware of that, Donnie.
Avery, if Donnie's here, you know one thing, right? He smells blood in the water.
Yeah.
Donnie didn't get his name, the Great White Shark, for nothing. He can smell blood 6 kilometers away. He thinks my stuff's gonna go cheap. I hope that he's wrong.
All I can tell you is there's no friends at an auction.
I tell you what, I'm not feeling that good right now.
I'll see you on auction day.
We can do the rust prep, give the client his patina.
Hey, strip in and you're good.
Yeah,
At the Rust Bros shop,
I think we're almost on schedule.
Yes.
It'll be a first.
Mike and Blair are on a tight deadline to finish the Diamond T in time for their client Rob's upcoming company event.
We've got 1 week left. Blair's down to the last fender. The metal work's almost all done. We're starting to do the patina on the box. It's gonna be tight, but I'm feeling pretty confident. Oh, Rob,
Hey, good morning, Mike. How you doing?
we're just stripping the box. I think we're on schedule. What's up?
I got some bad news. I just spoke to Bill and Stu, and what we'd like is the Gasco colors but patinaed.
Say what?
Instead of the natural patina they agreed on, Rob's now asking for a custom patina in his company's colors.
Are you kidding, Rob?
I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh.
I know it's a lot more work, but it's what we want.
Red and gray patina, the whole truck. There's a whole new plan. Fake patina. We've never done one of these. Fake patina, you put on all the layers of colors that you want, and then you sand through some of them. Basically, we're starting right from scratch on something we thought was almost done. I'm not happy. Well, your schedule's gonna be blown, and so's your budget.
Okay, listen, I get that. The budget's fine. It's just we need to stay on that timeline.
Oh, Rob!
Mike, can you do that for me?
Well, I just gonna have to get a couple more bodies in here and drive them like rented mules, okay?
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, too, for nothing.
Thanks.
What do I tell him? We don't want to finish the build? No, the client is always right. It's his truck, it's his vision. He's the one that's footing the bill, and the bill is quite large on this build. This all has to come off.
Great.
Great, great. Whatever, that's what he wants, that's what we'll give him. I just don't know if we can meet his time frame.
It's a big freaking deal.
Blair, shut up and get to work.
Of course, of course.
Okay.
Mike?
How's it going, man?
Good.
We need a whack of materials. Oh, look, a shopping cart. Basically, this job has just exploded. Give us 3 of those. Okay. Cost-wise, time-wise, labor-wise, material-wise. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You're the man. You're doing a one-off. So every time the vision changes, it's way more work.
This thing is still here?
Well, now that you're here, we'll get it done twice as fast.
Sure you will.
Sometimes it's not easy, but it's what the client wants. We're gonna have to figure out a way.
Mike, bring me torches.
Right here, give her. When your client comes to you with a dream and a vision, you hope that the total sum of what you do and your crew does meets or exceeds their expectations.
Well, that's a long one, so that one's good.
Yeah, got to strip all the existing paint off, get down to bare metal. We've got to cover all the 40 feet of welding with fiberglass, then we've got a mud, then we've got a block, we've got a sand, prime, and paint. Okay, we're good. But there's 8 coats of paint. That'll work. There's 2 coats of gray, 2 coats of black, 2 coats of brown, and there's 2 coats of red. We've never done a complete faux patina, so we're gonna do all of the work except for the actual sand through on the patina.
Patrick! Show you what we did.
Excited.
We've talked to Patrick at PMC. They've done quite a few of these jobs. They can do the final sand through.
You've got a ton of material in here.
It's like a jawbreaker.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's our best hope of getting this job done on time to meet the client's deadline.
You can just give her.
This is the last build of the year.
Okay, there's some black finally coming through there.
This truck is very important to Rob, therefore it's very important to us. It's to celebrate his company. It's not an easy feat to stay in business for 20 years. There's not another truck like this on the planet. Rob's a winner, so is his truck.
Awesome.
Rob!
Mike! How are you?
At Western Gas Co. in Kelowna, BC,
I barely slept last night. The anticipation is killing me.
Wait till you see this thing.
Mike has brought Rob the finished Diamond T,
Let's go.
Okay, it has been transformed.
just ahead of his company's upcoming anniversary.
You ready for this?
You gotta be kidding me.
Look at that thing.
My God. Listen right here. Guys, absolutely brilliant. I love the patina. I love the color of the truck. I love the stance. Oh my God, spectacular. I'm actually speechless. Wow. I had a vision in my head from the beginning of what the truck looked like finished, and they got the vision, dug into my head, and saw exactly what I wanted.
Look at those curves.
Blair.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
You had a great vision. It was
Oh,
worth
my
it.
God.
Beautiful.
I mean, we roughed it in, but we had to leave it to the artists at PMC to bring your vision to fruition, Rob.
It's awesome, man.
Just remember how you feel when you get the bill now, Rob.
Bill Schmill. I can't believe it came out this good.
It's one cool piece, man, and a oneer. Out of all the builds we've done over the last 5 years, the Diamond T ranks up there with the top. The truck looks amazing. The grille, the old hood ornament, the widened fenders, that big 4-inch exhaust, the synergy on this build is out of this world.
That's a big, big tire back there.
I wonder who picked that.
And those copper tubings, killer.
Yeah. Rob's company being Western Gas Co., we thought it was crucial to have an element of what he does. So we did it in the back with the welding gas tanks.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
To see his face light up and the emotion in his eyes, it means everything to us. That's why we do what we do.
Connor rebuilt half of these grill
he?
bars for you, yeah.
Love it. Who painted it?
Well, me and Cassidy painted it, but Patrick unpainted it. Bodywork, mud work, sanding over every square inch of the truck, then 8 coats of paint, and then Patrick put another 200 hours taking the paint off to have that magic finish.
You got any fingerprints left?
I mean, the thing looks 80 years old and it looks brand new.
80 years with a touch of modern. Love it.
Take a look at the interior.
Yeah, interior is killer. You got your gauges in here,
That is absolutely beautiful.
all your diamond stitching.
Diamond stitching for the Diamond T. How fitting. You guys thought of everything.
This Diamond T, it's got the style of an old vehicle,
The sound system, amazing.
Maple Tech, they really delivered on this.
but you know what? It's got the ability and the technology of a nowadays vehicle.
Can we throw her up in the air?
Absolutely.
It's kick-ass.
Oh, look how quick that went up. The air system, absolutely amazing. Love it when the truck is up high.
Let's see what happens when you drop this thing into the weeds.
And when Patrick drops the truck down, it looks absolutely killer.
Oh, I love that side.
Wow. Damn good job. Beautiful. Absolutely killed it.
It was a long, hard struggle to the finish line, but I'd say between us and PMC, we got the gold. The finished product tells the tale.
I'm still in awe.
We knocked this one out of the park.
Thank you, guys. Patrick killed it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't thank me, but you can sure thank Blair.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. Avery, thank you,
I
brother.
did nothing, but thank you.
Check 1, 2, mic check, just 1, 2, sound check. All right, neighbors, get ready at 10 o'clock. You're gonna hear this for about 5 or 6 hours, guys. Check 1, 2.
The next morning,
Park that green leaker over in the far side, but be careful. Make sure somebody's there to guide you so you don't run nobody over.
I got it.
the day of Avery's auction has arrived.
Avery,
Hey, how you doing, man?
getting set up, ready to go. Big day.
Yeah.
Today, big day for Avery. His first auction he's ever had. I know he's nervous. We'll roll through it and see how the bids go. Try to get as much money as we can.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I can only do what I can do. Ultimately, everything sells for no reserve. We're gonna find out. Time will tell. Time will tell. Let's go.
It's auction morning. People are starting to show up. Am I nervous? Hell yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see y'all here. It is a 10 o'clock start, so if you do not have yourselves a bid pass, right in the front of the truck there, you'll see the tables are set up.
Do you remember what my bid number was? I lost my card. Today, we're helping Avery get rid of a 25-year collection of garbage. Hopefully it's expensive garbage and he makes his money back. He's not looking too happy right now.
We have 320 live internet bidders waiting for the 10 o'clock start.
You doing, pal?
Not bad.
How you doing here? Good to see you, my man.
A lot of Avery's friends are here and they're just like Avery. They go to an auction, they want a deal.
Oh, everybody.
You just like this, don't you?
Hey guys, I think you're gonna lose a little weight today. I'm here to help, buddy. There's a couple things I want to steal from you.
At the end of the day, you're relieving yourself of a big headache.
What am I, losing all your guys' telephone numbers?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're 30 seconds, maybe a minute away.
Hey, they're starting to call stuff. Let's go look.
Okay, get the
Come
moths
on.
out of your pockets.
I don't want to miss any of these bad deals.
We're live at the Avery Show. No reserve sale. He's got military items. He's got lawnmowers. He's got trucks. Pre-bidding is now open.
I don't know what's going to happen with Avery's stuff, to be honest with you. We are not miracle workers. It's unique items. We'll see how it goes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. First items, here we go. We got a 92 Freightliner. 37.4, now 2, now 5.
But I can tell you this, we're going to work our asses off.
1,000, now 250. Now 5. Daddy's in at 2.5, 5. Now 60 and 70.
He wants it. Yeah, he wants it back.
7.5, last go. So, 75.
Did Greg get it? He did. Hey, we were fighting over it.
Hey, my first 3 cars went for less than 100 total.
Bidding started. Things are going for a great price.
The red number, by the way, is what you sell them, right?
So, 2,400.
I paid 100 for that when I bought it. You know what? I could be a happy man.
Oh, we got the Warlock right here, boys. Dodge Warlock Power Wagon. Down 10,000.
What do you have that for?
$1,000. All of my worries may have been for nothing.
So, 97.50 going to Medicine Hat, Alberta.
You're winning today there, Abe.
Not over yet.
Here's lot number 201. Tires 9x20s. And now we're going to hear it. Down hummers on down 202. Down who been the 2 101. Now we're $50 wear down.
Nobody wants.
Now 50. Sold $25. All right, 6545.
I got $25 for 6 tires.
Here's 206, your 1992 Dodge Ram 250.
Here we go. Now you're getting into the good stuff, eh?
All right, 14, 15, down 14, bid 15. Bid 14, earn 15, earn 14, earn 15, earn 14, 15, 15, 15. Sold $1,600.
You said about what I paid for it. I'm watching this stuff go through the sale. I'm watching the hammer fall on it.
Sold $150.
I'm worried about it.
M3 half track, sold $450.
Ouch. What you have into it?
More than that.
It's all turned around. Stuff's starting to go for nothing.
Here's 231, number to buy, Dodge 1500.
I paid $400 for that truck.
Here to 150. Sold $100.
That was a good investment on my part.
It's turning into a goddamn nightmare.
Sold $150.
I should have stayed in bed.
Lot number 290. Now 200 down quarter. 200 down 25. Oh.
Lost power.
Check.
We just lost everything.
Avery,
Hang on a minute.
bear with us, guys. We just lost power.
Me.
Avery,
Yes.
did you pay the power bill?
After his sudden electrical outage, Avery's auction is at a standstill.
Check.
Now the power went out. It has everything on hold. I need to go in the house to see if it blew the breaker. I think they overloaded the circuit. What the hell? If that doesn't work, we may have a problem here. Ha ha! Finally!
Do we have power? Yeah, we're good.
Power's back on. Hopefully it's the last hiccup. But it's not over yet.
Lot number 208, the P90 forklift.
Oh, the forklift. What do you got to get out of that, Abe?
3,000 bid, 3,100.
I made $1,000 on it so far.
Oh, there you go. Smile. I know Avery's going to lose on some big ticket items, but he's got to look at the big picture.
34, 35, 6.
Hurry up, bid on it. I need the money.
Sold 3,600.
As long as the aggregate number's good, you can't sweat the individual items. Your wallet is up to almost 10 grand.
That makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
I was worried about that.
Sold 9,900.
Lot number 215, 92, half ton, number 2, now 5,000. 75 and I. So, 72.50 Ontario bound.
He's made up for all the costs there now.
Lot number 222, 75, 8 pound, so 82.50.
Perfect, right? I paid $250 for it.
With the auction back in full swing,
You made it.
I made it.
Nice. Here, let's go over. I got you a chair.
Oh, good.
Avery's mother Helen arrives to join the excitement.
Should get a number in case I want to buy something.
No, you'll be fine. I got one already.
You know what? My passion of junk, there you go. I inherited it from my mother.
Here's lot number 249, Snowcat.
Oh, here we go.
Pretty fair opening bid, 23, 2.5.
Oh, my goodness.
I learned quite a bit from my mother.
25, 5 down, 20,
It's going up.
20, 9,000, 9,000, 30,000.
I learned how to be a business person. I learned how to be shrewd.
Sold $30,000. Sold 30,000.
Perfect.
Good man.
I love it. And you know what? I'm just putting some of her lessons in the play that she taught me.
Well, that guy, what have I got? 250. See what's going on.
Yes. Isn't that your mom's generator? You're selling it, eh?
You know what? She sold a motorhome I had there. She sold a piece of my equipment.
Yeah.
And she sold a bunch of scrap iron. She sold some stuff of mine, so I put some of herself in the auction sale to get back at her.
Time to get even.
You know, poetic justice, is it?
How about Jim? What have I got here? 258. We have an enclosed 8 kilowatt light plant. Okay, guys.
Hey, that's my generator.
Your son said to sell it. Avery.
What?
Talk to your mom.
That's my generator.
Now 4.
No.
Internet. Now
Okay.
4.
4.
Are you bidding, miss?
Yes.
It sounds like a bad thing.
I paid $3,000 for it. To him.
Well, you overpaid, obviously.
But you know what?
$1,000.
1,000, 1,500.
My mother makes everybody else look like a bunch of Boy Scouts when it comes to wheeling and dealing.
Want to be 21, ma'am?
Yeah.
She is as harsh and abrasive as a piece of 80 grit sandpaper.
You want to be 25, ma'am?
Yeah.
26, 7. Do you want to be 8, ma'am? Oh, she threw the chicken down. She's done. Sold it. It's yours now at $2,700. You betcha.
Take it off his bill.
Take it off his bill, she said.
As bad as it sounds, I quite enjoyed watching her come unglued.
Mom, are you okay?
I'll kill him later.
Yeah.
Relax. Relax. Enjoy life. It'll be all right. But you know what? Family's family.
75 now, $100.
Him on.
We need things that are saleable.
You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family.
Now, we got a Chevrolet C70. It's a 1985. The motor has less than 300 hours.
That truck is very, very unique. Maybe 100 of those trucks ever made. It's probably the only piece that I actually will miss.
I have, here it is. I'm now 3, 4. I'm 100, 700. I'm 700.
Oh, it's Mike that's bidding, not me.
Oh, is it?
That deck truck, it's got a 453 supercharged 4-cylinder diesel engine. Super rare.
16, 17.
It was a custom built. The thing has a 2-page option list.
18, 19, down 2, down 21.
It's just a cool piece.
Hey, Mike, I see you bidding behind that tree. Both Mike and Donnie are bidding on my old crane truck. It's frightening.
42, 42, 42.
I'm hoping to get 10 grand out of this thing. But if Donnie's bidding on it, you know the price is nowhere where it should be. He's only interested in cheap, cheap, cheap.
47, 48, 49.
You gonna go get it, Donnie? No?
No, I don't want it.
Not at that price.
Now 54. I'm 55 and I. So, 54.
Thank you. That deck truck, probably one of the only things that Avery regrets putting in the auction. Thanks, Abe. And I'm going to take it to my place, so every time he shows up, I can fire it up and say, this thing runs good, Avery.
That's a nice truck you bought, Mike. Yeah. Mr. Hooplehead's over in the corner smiling. I'm gonna have to live with this for the rest of my life.
Here's lot number 280, your Sunliner used for wine tours.
Well, there's sunshine.
Sit down, Donnie.
What do you think?
Mike got to give away my truck.
That's probably the deal of the day there.
I don't know, you've been to 100 sales,
At
Donnie?
the end of the day, some stuff you might look at it and you got a little less than you wanted, but other stuff you got way more, so it evens out.
Hey, guys, how's it going, Abe? Donnie, I learned everything I know from you.
He did pretty good.
I know he did. I did really good.
Our close-knit wheeling and dealing family all together, buying my stuff like a bunch of vultures. But you know what, at the end of the day, what are friends for?
Okay, boys, I'm out of here. Good luck with the rest of the auction.
Thanks for coming, man.
Anytime.
You know what? When the shark bows out, could be a good thing.
We have 3 Cummins engine cores. I'm 40 down 50 down 75 down 12. So 1100 6519.
Things are starting to go for not too bad of a price.
Sold to the internet, $4,400.
Sold $1,600.
Things have turned around.
Sold $2,750.
Sold $5,750.
Sold $8,500.
Sold $6,500. It's gone.
There may be hope yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on behalf of EG Auctions, a great big thank you. Now you must pay the bill today, please and kindly, and talk to Avery to remove your items. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back next year. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, guys.
Here, Abe, do you want to fire it up for the last time?
Now jump in there. The auction is over. It's all sold.
It's alive! It's alive!
Am I happy? Am I sad?
Russell, why you hook that under your chin?
I don't know.
Drop him on his head.
That's enough. They're gonna let go here. Avery.
Avery, drop him, drop him.
Avery. Avery.
But one thing I do know,
You deserve to get dropped on your head.
okay, Mike, it ain't my problem anymore.
Jeremiah, you're driving it. I think Avery did really well. I don't think he's got anything to whine about. Not even his favorite piece here, that deck truck.
Hey,
What's making that noise? I mean, we drive it out of the yard, barely made it 10 feet.
the U-joint blew up.
Oh, good one, Ave.
Good thing I seen that, or it'd cost you a whole bunch of money.
Hey, it's still under warranty.
Yeah. Don't feel bad whatsoever. It kind of puts a smile on my face.
Okay, Jeremiah, if something happens, don't phone me.
So, how was the day? You know what? I'm just exhausted right now.
Listen to that baby purr.
You got hosed really bad on a couple pieces. Did really well on a couple pieces. So I'm quite anxious to find out my final total.
Let's go see what Todd says.
Todd, you got the magic number?
It better be good. Well, just a moment of truth, I guess.
A moment of truth.
With Avery's auction finished,
Yup.
I think that went pretty good,
That
don't
was a
you?
long day, but I think we went pretty well, yeah.
there's only one unknown left.
We had a nice crowd here, and online was pretty strong. So total sales for the day, $217,776.40. I mean, I hope you're happy with us. They worked
Smile,
hard.
Abe, like it looks like you just lost your best friend.
You know, it is what it is. I got my final total. Am I happy about it? It's a double-edged sword. There's a couple things that I've made good money on, and there's a couple things that I've lost big money on. It'll probably take me a while to get over a few of them. It's not gonna go away overnight.
If somebody came to your yard a week ago and said, I'd pay you 200 grand to move everything, what would you have done?
Well, I'd have definitely sold it.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I hope you're happy.
If it's $200,000 for this yard full of junk, I think he's doing great. He should be really happy.
I'm too tired to be too ecstatic about it. I am happy. When I wake up tomorrow, I'll probably be smiling. I'm probably be smiling in a half an hour after I eat something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just thank the man for doing an amazing job.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
man.
He's had a
appreciate
long
it. It was
day,
a lot of
too.
fun for us.
At the end of the day, when I come back and there's nothing back here, my
Rental
neighbor
of
over here will love me, the other neighbor over there will love me, the other neighbor across the way will still hate me.
Yeah. You always got one of those.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
See,
man, take care.
see you next one. I'm glad that's over.
Hey,
What?
you did way better than what I thought. Some of your junk actually went for good money. Some of your junk you got for, but welcome to the auction world.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I know. In 3 weeks, you'll be able to walk through here and admire your property. You haven't seen it since you bought the place. Just think, you are free from all those encumbrances that were tying you down.
There's a part of me that's glad that it's all gone.
Ave, you'll wake up tomorrow morning and realize none of it is your responsibility anymore.
Mike, he may be right. You look around and realize that you no longer own this junk. Somebody else has your stuff. But you know what? Hey, you got their money.
Ave, don't fill it back up.
Same with you.
Same with you. I will never have more junk than fits in my yard.
Yeah.
Let's go, Link. Come on. Yeah, we're going, buddy.
3 weeks later, winter has arrived early in Russ Valley,
We're going, just don't know when we're coming back.
and Mike is shutting down his restoration shop for the season.
I'm just taking a breather. We've done the last couple client builds. Come on. I'm not taking on any more right at the moment. I need a break. Let's go. Oh, look who's here.
With both their auctions now behind them,
Well, you're all cleaned up over there, are you?
Yep,
Avery's come to check out the once overflowing church property.
she's clean.
Stop by Mike's today and see if he managed to clean his mess up. I got mine just about all cleaned up. You know what? I can't believe you did it with the churchyard.
I don't even think the church can believe it. Remember what this looked like a month ago?
You know what? There's good news for you. You won't be going to hell, I don't think.
I think it's gonna take more than that. All that's left is this, the Taj Mahal here. Somebody paid $700-800 and they came and took one look and left it. Take a whiff.
Ah, hell.
Back rat. Took one look and said, we're not hauling this back. Know what I'm thinking?
What are you doing?
Souvenir, Ave.
Make sure you save the screws, eh? Because
They're original.
Buying and selling junk, it's part of our life. It's who we are.
I mean, Ave, what have we done?
Selling all of our stuff, it's like getting a limb amputated off you.
I know the money's just nowhere near as much fun. Just sold another 100 cars. I've just got a check for 300 grand. The temptation is to go out and buy more junk.
What are we gonna do, take up floristry?
No, but you know what? This guy just reached out and says he's got 900 antique cars in a field in northern Alberta.
Yeah.
900. And he's getting old and wants to get rid of them. I think maybe we should just go look.
You know what? Just about brings a tear to my eye, but you know what? I was kind of feeling a bit lonely. You know what, Mike? We got nothing else to do.
No, I
We're
got
done.
nothing.
I haven't been anywhere in a while. How about you?
Link, you want to go on a road trip?
Yeah, Hound, you want to go somewhere?
Come on, let's go. We're going on a road trip.
I first heard the name Rust Valley the way one hears a rumor about buried treasure, half disbelief and half longing, whispered among men who smell of oil and old leather, and that is exactly how the opening moments of Rust Valley Restorers feel, not like a television show but like a confession murmured by the mountains themselves. The camera drifting over British Columbia's misty forests before settling on a clearing that looks less like a business and more like a secret, a graveyard of chrome. Dreams where hundreds of classic cars lie abandoned, stacked, sunken into the earth, their paint flaked away like old scars, and at the center of it all stands Mike Hall, not introduced so much as revealed, a man shaped by time and stubbornness, his posture heavy with the weight of unfinished projects, and it is here that Diamond in the Rough truly begins. Because the diamond is not a single car or even the yard itself but the idea that value can exist where the world sees only decay, an idea that pulses through every scene like an engine that refuses to die, and as a novelist I am struck immediately by the visual metaphor, the way rust becomes a language, each oxidized panel a sentence about neglect, patience, and the slow violence of time, while Mike speaks of cars the way others speak of family, not with sentimentality but with obligation, as though he owes these machines a future simply because he was there when their past ended. And the early scenes introduce Avery Shove as a counterbalance, a pragmatic businessman whose eyes measure space, cost, and risk, his voice carrying the tension between dreams and invoices, and already the narrative conflict is set, not in shouted arguments but in glances and silences, in the way Avery walks the yard calculating liabilities while Mike walks it remembering names, years, and stories, the camera cutting between them like a heartbeat that can't decide its rhythm. And this is where the episode's emotional engine starts to rev. Because Rust Valley Restorers is never just about restoration but about confrontation, about what happens when hoarding masquerades as preservation and when passion becomes a shield against accountability, and the show wisely does not rush this conflict, instead letting it ferment in long shots of cars sinking into weeds, the wind rattling loose trim like bones, and when Mike explains that each car is waiting for the right moment, the right vision, the right buyer, it sounds almost spiritual, a belief system rather than a business plan, and as a writer I recognize this as the core of his character, a man who believes time is an ally rather than an enemy, even as Rust proves otherwise, and the first restoration project of Diamond in the Rough is introduced not with fanfare but with hesitation, a vehicle pulled from the depths like a reluctant memory, its condition worse than expected, its promise uncertain. And this is crucial, because the show refuses the easy fantasy of instant transformation, instead dwelling on the ugliness of the starting point, the bent frames, seized engines, interiors that smell of mold and regret, and Connor Hall, Mike's son, enters the frame as a bridge between generations, his mechanical skill undeniable, his loyalty complex, and there is a quiet sadness in the way he works, as though each bolt tighten is also a question about inheritance, about whether he is fixing cars or fixing his father's legacy, and the camera lingers on his hands. Young but already scarred, moving with practiced confidence, and I think of how Rust Valley Restorers uses labor as storytelling, the repetitive motions of sanding, welding, grinding becoming a kind of punctuation, commas of effort that slow the narrative and force the viewer to sit with the cause of revival, and when the shop lights flicker on, illuminating dust motes like constellations, the space feels less like a garage and more like a sanctuary where mistakes are forgiven only after they are confronted, and the tension escalates as deadlines are discussed, numbers thrown around like blunt instruments, Avery pressing for progress, Mike deflecting with anecdotes, humor, and a stubborn refusal to see the clock as anything but a suggestion, And this dynamic is not played for cheap drama but for authenticity, the arguments grounded in real stakes, because every day a cast sits unfinished is a day Russ wins, and the episode quietly asks whether passion without action is just another form of neglect. And this question resonates beyond the screen, echoing in any creative endeavor where ideas pile up faster than execution, and midway through the narrative there is a moment of unexpected tenderness when Mike recounts how he acquired one of the cars, a story involving a handshake deal, a dying owner, and a promise to keep the vehicle alive, and his voice softens, the bravado slipping, revealing a man who measures wealth not in profit margins but in trust. And it is here that Diamond in the Rough earns its title most honestly, because the roughness is not only rust and dirt but human imperfection, the flaws that made restoration necessary in the first place, and as the team works, setbacks accumulate, a path that doesn't fit, a budget that doesn't stretch, an engine that refuses to turn over, and the editing resists the temptation to compress these struggles, instead letting frustration breathe, letting silence fill the shot when tempers cool, and this patience is rare in reality television, which often confuses speed with excitement, but Rust Valley Restorers understands that anticipation is built through effort, not shortcuts, and the payoff is not yet delivered in this first part, because this is a story about process, not results, and the episode closes its primary arc with the cast still incomplete, its potential visible but unrealized, a literal diamond still buried in rough stone, and Mike stands back, surveying the work, his expression unreadable, a mix of pride, worry, and defiance, and Avery's gaze follows, calculating, skeptical, but not entirely dismissive, and the forest beyond the yard looms quietly, indifferent to human ambition, reminding us that time will continue regardless of intention, and as the camera pulls away, the sound of tools fades into the ambient noise of wind and distant birds, and I am left with the sense that Rust Valley Restorers is less a show about cars than a meditation on worth, on who gets to decide what is worth saving, and how much sacrifice that decision demands, and in this opening movement of Diamond in the Rough, the series lays its foundation with confidence, inviting us not to marvel at glossy finishes but to sit in the dirt, to feel the weight of rust on our hands, and to ask ourselves whether we would walk away from such a mess or commit to the slow, grinding work of transformation, knowing that not every restoration succeeds, but that the attempt itself might be the most valuable thing left. The second movement of Diamond in the Rough opens not with triumph but with morning light revealing yesterday's compromises, the shop floor still cluttered with parts laid out like an anatomy lesson interrupted, and there is something brutally honest in how Rust Valley Restorers refuses to let progress feel clean, because every advance exposes a new problem, and as Mike Hall walks through the shop with a coffee gone cold in his hand, his eyes trace the half-restored car not as an object but as a timeline, measuring what has been done against what remains undone, and this contrast between intention and reality is the emotional backbone of the episode, deepening the central question of whether belief alone can sustain a dream when resources, time, and patience are finite, and Avery Shove arrives early, his presence altering the air pressure in the room, conversations tightening, jokes flattening, because he represents consequence in a space built on possibility, and their exchange is quiet but sharp, numbers sliding into the discussion like blades, cost overruns framed not as accusations but as inevitabilities, and Mike listens with the same half-smile he uses to deflect worry, yet there is a flicker of uncertainty behind his eyes that the camera catches mercilessly, and this is where the series excels as narrative nonfiction, using restraint rather than melodrama, trusting the audience to read the subtext in posture and pacing, and Connor steps in as mediator, his voice steady, outlining the technical hurdles with clinical clarity, explaining why the engine rebuild took longer, why the replacement parts are harder to source than anticipated, and as he speaks there is an undercurrent of something unspoken, a son trying to translate passion into practicality for a father who has never needed translation before, and the episode then widens its scope, introducing another vehicle from the yard, one that has sat untouched for years, its body sagging into the earth, as if trying to disappear, and Mike's attachment to it is immediate, visceral, his hand brushing the rusted fender with a familiarity that borders on affection, and he recounts its history in fragments, how it arrived, what it once meant, why it deserves another chance. And Avery listens, arms crossed, the story failing to convert directly into value. And this tension between narrative worth and market worth becomes a recurring motif, because in Rust Valley, stories are currency but bills demand cash, and the decision to pull this second car into the shop feels reckless and inevitable at once, a move driven by instinct rather than strategy. And as the crew begins the extraction, the physical labor becomes symbolic, chains tightening, tires refusing to roll, the ground itself resisting, and when the car finally lurches free, shedding dirt like a skin, there is a collective exhale. A brief victory that tastes like effort rather than success, and as a novelist I am struck by how these moments echo classical adventure beats, the retrieval of a relic, the triumph of will over inertia, yet the show undercuts any romanticism by immediately revealing the damage, the frame rot worse than expected, the interior beyond salvage, and the cost estimates climbing with each discovery. And Avery's reaction is measured but firm, the math unyielding, and Mike's response is to lean harder into faith, insisting that the right buyer will see what he sees. And here the episode probes deeper into the psychology of collectors, the fine line between curation and accumulation, between saving and hoarding, and the camera lingers on the yard, row after row of vehicles waiting, and the sheer scale begins to feel oppressive, a monument to ambition that has outpaced execution. And yet there is beauty in the chaos, the way sunlight hits chrome through branches, the way colors emerge beneath rust like memories resurfacing, and this aesthetic tension mirrors the interpersonal one. Because despite frustration, there is loyalty, the crew working not because it is efficient but because it feels necessary. And in the shop, Connor leads a critical repair, his competence unquestioned, his movements precise, and Mike watches from a distance, offering advice that Connor doesn't always take. And this subtle shift in authority is one of the episode's most compelling arcs, a quiet acknowledgement that restoration is also succession, that the future of Rust Valley may depend on letting go as much as holding on. And midway through Part 2, the narrative introduces a potential buyer, an outsider, whose arrival brings hope and anxiety in equal measure, their inspection thorough, their questions sharp, and Mike performs optimism like armor, highlighting strengths, minimizing flaws, while Avery tracks the conversation with the intensity of a chess player anticipating outcomes, and the buyer's ambivalence becomes another test, because interest without commitment is the most dangerous kind, feeding hope without relief. And when the buyer leaves without a decision, the silence that follows is heavier than any argument, and the episode allows that silence to stretch, no music rushing in to soften it, just the ambient sounds of the yard, the distant clang of metal, and this patience reinforces the show's thematic integrity, reminding us that real stakes do not resolve neatly within an hour. And the latter half of the episode focuses on setbacks compounding, a misaligned part causing a cascade of delays, tempers flaring briefly before cooling, and through it all, Mike's belief remains intact but visibly strained, his jokes landing softer, his anecdotes shorter, and there is a poignant scene where he walks alone through the yard at dusk, touching cars as if counting rosary beads, each one a promise he made to himself or someone else, and the weight of those promises is palpable, because restoration is not just mechanical but moral, an obligation to past owners, to history, to the self-image he has built over decades. And as the episode approaches its end, there is a small but meaningful breakthrough, the engine finally turning over, not roaring to life but coughing, sputtering, alive enough to justify the effort, and the crew's reaction is subdued but sincere, smiles breaking through fatigue, and for a moment the diamond glints through the rough, and Avery acknowledges the win without surrendering caution, praising the progress while reiterating the reality that one success does not solve systemic issues, and this balance keeps the narrative honest, resisting the temptation to frame Avery as antagonist, instead presenting him as a necessary counterweight. And the episode closes with Mike and Connor sharing a rare quiet moment, father and son standing beside the car, hands greasy, faces tired, and there is an unspoken understanding between them, a recognition that the work is bigger than either of them alone, and as the camera pulls back, the yacht stretches out once more, thus and unresolved, and Diamond in the Rough deepens its meditation on value. Asking not whether these cars can be saved, but at what cost, and who ultimately pays, emotionally, financially, and generationally, leaving us suspended between hope and doubt, exactly where Ross Valley seems most alive. Begins with the kind of uneasy momentum that follows a small victory, the engine's hesitant cough from the previous episode still echoing like a promise that may or may not be kept, and Ross Valley Restorers wisely lingers in that uncertainty, opening on a grey morning where the yacht looks heavier somehow, as if the cars themselves absorbed the crew's exhaustion overnight. And Mike Hall moves through the fog with a renewed but fragile energy, speaking about momentum as though it were a tangible substance that could be lost if not handled carefully, and this notion becomes the spine of the episode, because momentum in Ross Valley is never linear, it surges and collapses like weather, and Avery Shove, ever the realist, frames the day not in terms of hope but deadlines, reminding Mike and Connor that partial success still costs full money, and there is a faint edge to his voice now, not anger but urgency, the tone of someone who sees the narrowing of options long before others are willing to admit it, and the episode deepens its psychological portrait of Mike by showing how he responds to this pressure, not by retreating but by expanding his vision, pulling yet another vehicle into discussion, a car he insists could be the one that changes everything, and this pattern is revealing, because when cornered, Mike does not simplify, he multiplies, believing that abundance will somehow solve scarcity. And as a novelist I find this behavior tragically familiar, the creative impulse to answer constrained with imagination, even when practicality demands focus, and the show does not judge him overtly, instead letting the consequences speak, and those consequences arrive quickly as the crew splits attention between projects, energy thinning, mistakes creeping in, a mismeasured cut here, a misplaced part there, small errors that accumulate into delay, and Connor becomes the emotional center of the episode, his role shifting subtly from skilled technician to reluctant manager, coordinating tasks, correcting errors, absorbing frustration from both sides, and there is a quiet intensity in his demeanor, a sense that he is carrying not just the workload but the unspoken fear that if this fails, it will fail on his watch, and the camera captures him alone at one point, sitting on an overturned bucket, staring at the car's exposed frame, grease on his hands, eyes distant. And it is in moments like this that Ross Valley Restorers transcends its genre, using stillness to articulate pressure that dialogue would cheapen, and the narrative then pivots to a deeper exploration of the yacht's history, Mike recounting how Ross Valley grew organically, one deal leading to another, favors traded, promises made, until the collection became too large to manage by intention alone, and this confession feels less like justification and more like reckoning. An acknowledgement that passion without boundaries can become its own kind of trap, and Avery listens, not unsympathetic but unmoved, because understanding does not erase that, and their conversation crystallizes the show's central thesis, that love and responsibility are not opposites but require balance, and the episode introduces an external pressure point when a potential auction opportunity arises, the possibility of selling a vehicle quickly, at less than ideal value, to free up cash, and this suggestion lands like a betrayal to Mike, who recoils at the idea of letting a car go unfinished, unredeemed, and this reaction exposes the moral framework he operates under, where restoration is not just labor but redemption, and selling a car in rough condition feels like abandoning it mid-confession, and yet the practicality of the auction looms, a reminder that ideals must sometimes bow to survival, and the debate over this decision becomes the emotional climax of the episode. Not through shouting but through strained politeness, each side articulating their case with increasing precision, Mike invoking legacy and vision, Avery invoking sustainability and math, Connor caught between them, trying to translate without distorting, and the show smartly intercuts this debate with scenes of hands-on work, welding sparks flying as arguments simmer, the physical act of restoration mirroring the attempt to repair relationships under stress, and when the decision is finally made to prepare one car for the auction, the mood is somber, as though a sacrifice has been agreed upon, and the preparation process is stripped of romance. Focus on making the car presentable enough to sell without promising more than it can deliver, and this honesty is painful, because it forces Mike to confront the gap between what he wants these cars to be and what they currently are, and there is a powerful scene where he insists on fixing a small detail that will not affect the sale price, a gesture of dignity more than profit, and the crew indulges him, understanding that this is not about money but respect. And the auction day arrives with muted anticipation, the car loaded, the yacht watching as it leaves, a piece of Rust Valley's mass removed, and the result is underwhelming, the sale price modest, barely denting the financial strain, and Mike absorbs the disappointment quietly, his faith shaken but not shattered, and this is where Part 3 finds its emotional resonance, in the aftermath rather than the event, showing how the team recalibrates, how Connor uses the moment to argue for a more focused approach, fewer projects, clearer timelines, and Mike listens, truly listens, for perhaps the first time without deflecting, and there is a sense of evolution here, slow and incomplete but real, and the episode closes with a return to the original car, now closer to completion, its lines emerging, its potential clearer, and the engine runs more confidently, a mechanical affirmation that effort still matters, and Mike stands back, hands on hips, the familiar stance, but his expression has changed, less defiant, more contemplative, and the yacht behind him feels slightly less overwhelming, not because he has shrunk, but because he has begun, tentatively, to imagine a future where not every car must be saved to save himself, and Diamond in the Rough continues to refine its exploration of value, showing that sometimes the roughest edge is knowing when to let go, and sometimes the true restoration happens not in metal and paint but in the willingness to change course without losing identity, leaving the story poised on the brink of either collapse or renewal, with the outcome still uncertain and therefore compelling. Part 4 unfolds with the quiet gravity of consequences settling into place, the kind that does not announce itself loudly but seeps into every decision, every pause between words, and the episode opens on Rust Valley under a pale sky, the aftermath of the auction still lingering like dust that refuses to be swept away, and Mike Hall moves more slowly now, not physically diminished but mentally burdened, as though each step through the yacht requires negotiation with his own beliefs, and this shift in tempo is deliberate, because Diamond in the Rough is no longer asking whether restoration is possible but whether transformation, real transformation, can happen without erasing the soul that made Rust Valley what it is, and Avery Show's presence in this episode is more measured than ever, his role subtly evolving from enforcer to strategist, proposing not ultimatums but frameworks, schedules, inventories, boundaries that sound almost clinical when spoken aloud in a place defined by instinct and improvisation, and might resist at first, not with argument but with humor, with stories, with that familiar deflection that once felt charming and now feels brittle, and the camera captures this tension in close shots, the lines on Mike's face more pronounced, his eyes searching for agreement that does not immediately arrive, and Connor, standing slightly apart, observes both men with the awareness of someone who understands that the future of Rust Valley may hinge less on any single car and more on whether these two worldviews can coexist, and the episode then centers on a pivotal decision, the commitment to finish one flagship restoration fully, no distractions, no new rescues from the yacht, a single diamond to be cut properly rather than many left half-buried, and this decision feels monumental precisely because it contradicts Mike's long-standing philosophy of abundance. And as the crew rallies around this focused goal, there is a noticeable change in energy. Tasks clearly assigned, timelines sketched, progress tracked, and for the first time the shop feels less like a battlefield of competing priorities and more like a workshop with intent, and yet this slaughter comes at a cost, because every car left outside becomes a silent accusation, a reminder of deferred dreams, and Mike's relationship with the yacht grows more complex, his walks shorter, his touches fewer, as if he is deliberately limiting emotional exposure to stay on course, and this internal struggle is mirrored in the restoration itself, which enters a difficult phase where cosmetic improvements threaten to mask deeper structural issues, forcing Connor to make hard calls about what must be redone rather than patched, and these moments are filmed with an almost surgical focus, metal stripped back again, previous work undone, progress reversed in service of integrity, and Mike watches this with visible discomfort. Not because he doubts Connor's judgment but because reversal feels like failure to him, and here the show articulates a profound truth about craftsmanship and life alike, that real quality often requires undoing what was done too quickly, and this lesson resonates through the interpersonal dynamics as well, particularly in a tense exchange where Mike questions whether perfection is worth the time it demands, and Connor responds not defensively but firmly, asserting that cutting corners now would betray everything they claim to stand for, and this is a turning point in their relationship, a moment where the son asserts authority not through rebellion but through principle, and Mike's reaction is restrained, a long pause followed by reluctant agreement, and that pause carries decades of history, pride, and fear compressed into silence, and the narrative then expands outward, introducing the pressure of reputation, word spreading about Ross Valley's renewed focus, potential buyers watching from a distance, waiting to see whether this promised transformation is real or performative, and Avery leverages this scrutiny strategically, emphasizing that consistency, not spectacle, will rebuild trust, and this perspective reframes the restoration as a public act, not just a private obsession, and the crew feels this weight, their work now a statement rather than just a task, and fatigue sets in, long hours blurring days together, tempers flaring briefly before being reined in, and the show captures these frictions without exaggeration, showing how stress manifests in small irritations rather than explosive confrontations, and amid this grind, there is a rare moment of levity, a shared laugh over an old mistake, reminding us that camaraderie survives even under pressure, and this balance keeps the narrative human, preventing it from collapsing into grim determinism, and as the restoration nears a critical milestone, the paint stage, anticipation builds. Because paint in Ross Valley is not merely aesthetic but symbolic, the visible proof of redemption, and the preparation is meticulous, sanding surfaces smooth, correcting imperfections that only the trained eye would notice, and Mike's involvement intensifies here, his hands-on participation signaling renewed commitment, and yet his demeanor is different, less possessive, more collaborative, asking rather than telling, listening rather than asserting, and this evolution is subtle but profound, suggesting that leadership in this new phase may mean restraint rather than control. And when the paint is finally applied, the transformation is striking but not overstated, the camera resisting slow-motion glamour shots, instead focusing on the crew's reactions, quiet satisfaction rather than celebration, because they know how fragile this moment is, how easily it could be undermined by a missed detail or an unforeseen issue, and the episode wisely introduces such an issue almost immediately, a mechanical fault discovered late in the process, threatening deadlines and budgets once again, and this setback tests the new system, and instead of chaos, there is problem-solving, Connor outlining options, Avery recalculating impacts, Mike weighing risks without dramatizing them, and this coordinated response feels like the true restoration, evidence that change is not theoretical but operational, and as the repair progresses, the episode interweaves reflections from Mike about aging, about realizing that time is no longer an infinite resource, and these reflections are delivered not as confessionals but as offhand remarks, conversations with crew members, moments of vulnerability slip between jokes, and they add depth to his character, revealing that the fear driving his accumulation was not greed but impermanence, the terror of running out of chances to make things right, and this context reframes his past decisions without excusing them, and the episode closes on a restrained but meaningful note, the car nearly complete, the shop quieter than usual, the yacht still vast but no longer the sole focus, and Mike stands beside the restored vehicle, not touching it this time, simply observing, as if practicing the act of letting go, and the final shot lingers on the contrast between the polished metal and the rusted silhouettes beyond, a visual thesis statement for Diamond in the Rough, that refinement does not erase origins, that beauty and decay coexist, and that the true test is not whether Rust Valley can produce a perfect car, but whether it can sustain a philosophy that honors the past without being imprisoned by it. Leaving the story at a moment of fragile equilibrium, where progress feels real but not guaranteed, and where every choice ahead carries the weight of lessons learned the hard way. Part 5 begins with a deceptive calm, the kind that settles in only after a system has been stressed and reinforced, and Rust Valley appears almost orderly in the early light, the flag-shaped restoration occupying the center of attention like a quiet promise finally learning how to keep itself, and yet beneath this surface stability there is an unmistakable sense of pressure, because success, once glimpsed, becomes a demand rather than a dream, and Mike Hall feels this acutely, his confidence returning not as swagger but as vigilance, every detail now scrutinized with a seriousness that surprises even him, and the episode frames this shift through routine, the repetition of checks, the rechecking of talk settings, the review of timelines pinned to a wall that once hosted only calendars stained with grease, and Avery Shove moves through these routines with measured approval, not praising but acknowledging, which in Rust Valley carries more weight than applause, and Connor, increasingly comfortable in his leadership role, orchestrates the final stages with a precision that reveals how far the operation has come, yet the narrative resists complacency by introducing a new layer of complexity, because with the flagship car nearing completion, attention turns inevitably to its destination, and the question of sale versus showcase becomes the episode's central tension, not as a binary choice but as a philosophical fork in the road, and Mike's instinct is to debut the car publicly, to let it stand as proof of Rust Valley's rebirth, while Avery argues for a private sale, capitalizing on momentum to stabilize finances before courting spectacle, and this debate is framed not as conflict but as strategy, two visions of sustainability negotiating terms, and the camera underscores this by intercutting their discussion with shots of the car's immaculate details, the restored lines reflecting light with a clarity that makes the surrounding rust seem almost apologetic, and as a novelist I am struck by how the show uses the object as a mirror, each character projecting their priorities onto the same surface, and the crew senses the stakes, their labor now tethered to a decision that could validate or undermine months of discipline, and this awareness sharpens interactions, jokes becoming cautious, silences more frequent, and the episode then complicates matters further by introducing external interest, a collector whose reputation precedes him, whose expectations are exacting, and whose arrival transforms the shop into a stage, and Mike performs hospitality with practiced ease, recounting the car's journey with controlled enthusiasm, careful not to oversell yet unable to fully suppress pride, while Avery observes the exchange with a negotiator's detachment, cataloging signals, reading pauses, and Connor stands close to the vehicle, answering technical questions with clarity that earns respect, and this triangulation of roles feels earned, a culmination of the structural changes established in earlier parts, and the inspection itself becomes a narrative set piece, the collector's hands gliding over panels, his gaze lingering on seams and alignments, and the camera invites us to share his perspective, to see the car not as a project but as a commodity, and this shift in gaze is unsettling for Mike, who struggles visibly with the translation of meaning from story to price, and the collector's feedback is positive but conditional, his offer contingent on a final test drive and documentation review, and this conditionality introduces suspense of a quieter sort, the kind rooted in professionalism rather than drama, and the episode uses this waiting period to explore the human cause of transformation, focusing on the crew's exhaustion, the subtle fraying of nerves after sustained effort. And there is a poignant scene where one mechanic admits uncertainty about what comes next, expressing pride in the work but anxiety about continuity, and this confession resonates, because Rust Valley's identity has long been defined by accumulation, not completion, and success threatens to disrupt that identity as much as failure ever did, and Mike responds to this uncertainty with unexpected humility, acknowledging that he does not have all the answers, that the new path is still being written, and this openness marks a significant evolution in his leadership, transforming him from visionary to steward. And the narrative then pivots back to the car for its test drive, a moment charged with symbolic weight, because motion represents freedom, release from the static limbo of the yard, and the drive unfolds without spectacle. No roaring music or exaggerated reactions, just the sound of the engine settling into rhythm, the road unspooling ahead, and the expressions of those inside the vehicle, focused, attentive, relieved, and when they return, the sense of accomplishment is palpable but restrained. The knowledge that this is not an ending but a threshold, and the collector's response, measured and affirmative, sets the stage for a negotiation that unfolds with deliberate pacing, numbers exchanged, conditions clarified, and Mike's discomfort with this process is evident, yet he remains engaged, trusting Avery to navigate without surrendering the soul of the project, and this trust is perhaps the most significant restoration of all, the repair of a partnership strained by years of misalignment, and the deal, when it is finally agreed upon, is fair rather than triumphant, a win measured not by excess, but by balance, and the immediate aftermath is anticlimactic in the best sense, paperwork signed, hands shaken, the car scheduled for departure, and the crew disperses quietly, each processing the moment privately, and Mike lingers longest, his relationship with the car shifting now that its purpose has changed, and there is a scene of him alone in the shop after hours, lights dimmed, touching the hood gently, not possessively, but as one might touch a finished sentence, knowing it will be read by others now, and this metaphor extends to the yard itself, which the episode revisits with a new lens, not as an overwhelming archive but as a landscape of choices, each vehicle a potential future weight against finite capacity, and Avery capitalizes on the sales success to press for continued discipline, proposing criteria for future projects, timelines, exit strategies. And while Mike initially bristles at the language, he ultimately engages, asking questions, offering adjustments, participating in a planning process that once felt antithetical to his ethos, and this engagement signals a genuine shift, because it suggests that structure need not suffocate passion, that boundaries can protect rather than diminish creativity, and the episode reinforces this theme through small, telling details, Mike declining to bring in a new car despite temptation, Connor delegating tasks without apology, Avery acknowledging the emotional dimension of decisions rather than dismissing them. And the cumulative effect is a sense of maturation, not resolution, but readiness, and as Part 5 draws to a close, the departure of the flagship car becomes a ceremony of sorts, the crew gathering not to celebrate but to witness, the vehicle rolling out of the shop, sunlight catching its curves, and for a brief moment the yard feels lighter, a space reclaimed, and Mike watches without visible regret, his expression complex but calm, and the final images juxtapose the empty space left behind. With the car still waiting, suggesting continuity rather than loss, and the narration of Diamond in the Rough, implicit rather than spoken, seems to ask whether this model of focus restoration can scale, whether Rust Valley can sustain a future defined by intention rather than impulse, and the episode ends not with certainty but with momentum, the kind built not on accumulation but on trust, discipline, and the willingness to let finished things go, leaving the story poised for the next test, where one success must prove it is not an exception but the beginning of a new pattern. Part 6 opens in the silence that follows momentum, the kind of silence that is not empty but watchful, as if Rust Valley itself is waiting to see whether the lessons learned will harden into habit or slowly erode under the familiar pull of excess, and the camera returns again to the vacant bay where the flagship car once stood, now swept clean, almost reverent in its emptiness, and Mike Hall stands there longer than necessary, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on the concrete as though the floor might offer guidance, and this image sets the emotional tone of the episode, because absence, it turns out, is far more demanding than clutter, asking questions rather than hiding them, and Avery Shove arrives with papers in hand, not contracts this time but projections, charts mapping what the last restoration proved and what it did not, and the conversation that follows is strikingly calm, almost restrained, The drama not in raised voices but in the weight of implication, because now that success has been demonstrated, excuses lose their shelter, and Mike absorbs this reality with a mix of resolve and unease, acknowledging that one diamond does not redeem an entire mine, and Connor listens carefully, recognizing that the next choice will define whether Rust Valley's transformation is sustainable or symbolic, and the episode structures itself around that choice. The selection of the next car to restore under the new rules, and this process becomes a ritual of sorts, criteria debated openly, timelines sketched with conservative realism, exit strategies discussed without shame, and for Mike this transparency is both liberating and painful, because it requires him to articulate why certain cars matter beyond sentiment, forcing him to confront how often his instincts have been driven by memory rather than viability, and the camera follows the trio into the yard, moving past rows of vehicles that once felt like an extension of Mike's identity and now resemble a library that must be curated rather than endlessly expended, and each stop becomes a small reckoning, Mike recounting a story, Avery countering with data, Connor assessing feasibility, and this triangulation slows the narrative deliberately, emphasizing that restoration now begins long before a wrench is lifted, and eventually they arrive at a candidate that satisfies enough of all three perspectives to move forward. Not the most emotionally charged, not the most profitable on paper, but a compromise that signals maturity, and the decision feels less triumphant than sober, a recognition that adulthood in any endeavor is defined by choosing what to leave behind as much as what to pursue, and once the car is selected, the episode shifts focus to preparation, the shop reconfigured, tasks scheduled, labor allocated with an efficiency that feels almost foreign to the space, and the crew responds cautiously, aware that this new order could collapse under pressure, and there is resistance in small forms, habits dying hard, a tendency to drift toward side projects, to fix what is nearby rather than what is prioritized, and Connor's role becomes crucial here, enforcing focus without authoritarianism, correcting course gently but consistently, and the show captures these microadjustments with a documentary patience that respects process over spectacle, and Mike, for his part, struggles visibly with restraint, hovering at the edges of the shop, offering suggestions he sometimes retracts mid-sentence, catching himself before slipping into old patterns, and this self-regulation becomes one of the episode's quiet triumphs, because it is not dramatic but deeply human, the effort to change expressed through hesitation rather than declaration, and Avery notices this, acknowledging it obliquely, reinforcing progress through recognition rather than control, and this mutual respect strengthens their partnership, transforming it from adversarial necessity into functional alliance, and the restoration itself begins with fewer fireworks than past projects, the car stripped methodically, assessed thoroughly, its flaws catalogued without judgment, and the absence of surprise feels like a victory in itself, evidence that planning has reduced chaos, and yet the episode is careful not to suggest that discipline eliminates difficulty, because soon enough an unexpected issue arises, a hidden structural weakness that threatens to derail timelines. And the old Rust Valley would have responded with improvisation and optimism, but this time the response is different. Connor halts progress, calls a meeting, options laid out plainly, costs attached honestly, and Mike listens, his face tight but attentive, and when the decision is made to address the issue properly rather than patch it, the choice feels like a moral one as much as a technical one, reinforcing the episode's theme that quality is an ethic, not a style, and the strain of this decision ripples outward, affecting schedules, budgets, morale, and the show allows us to sit with that discomfort, to feel the drag of doing things right when shortcuts beckon, and in a telling moment, Mike admits aloud that part of him misses the chaos, the freedom of following instinct without consequence, and this admission is not framed as weakness but as grief, the mourning of an identity that can no longer exist if Rust Valley is to survive, and Avery responds with unexpected empathy, acknowledging that structure often feels like loss before it feels like safety, and this exchange deepens their relationship, grounding it in shared vulnerability rather than opposing agendas, and the episode broadens its lens to include the crew more fully, highlighting how systemic change affects individuals differently, one mechanic thriving under clarity, another chafing against constraint, and these reactions are given space without resolution, because adaptation is uneven by nature, and Connor navigates these dynamics with growing confidence, learning when to push and when to listen, his leadership evolving from technical authority into emotional intelligence, and there is a poignant scene where he confides uncertainty about carrying the weight of expectation, not just as a manager but as a son, worried that success might redefine his relationship with Mike in ways neither has fully considered, and this vulnerability adds depth to his character, reminding us that succession is not just about skills but about renegotiating bonds. And Mike's response, understated but sincere, affirms trust without imposing legacy. A crucial moment that signals a healthier future for both men, and as the restoration progresses, incremental wins accumulate, small alignments, systems holding under stress, mistakes corrected early rather than compounded, and the show resists the urge to dramatize these successes, presenting them instead as a series of quiet confirmations that change is possible. And the episode intercuts these developments with shots of the yard at dusk, the rusted car still waiting, unchanged yet no longer overwhelming, their presence contextualized rather than dominating, and this visual motif reinforces the idea that Rust Valley's essence has not been erased but reframed, and toward the end of Part 6, a potential buyer inquiry surfaces earlier than expected, a test of whether the new process can accommodate opportunity without reverting to impulse, and the team responds cautiously, gathering information before commitment, resisting the adrenaline rush of interest, and Mike's restraint here is particularly striking, his willingness to wait signaling a profound shift in values, and although no deal is made, the inquiry serves as a narrative device to demonstrate growth, a mirror held up to past behavior, and the episode closes with the shop shutting down for the night, lights clicking off one by one, the empty bay no longer empty but expectant, and Mike takes one last look before leaving, not with longing but with intention, and the final image lingers on the car in progress, still rough, still incomplete, but surrounded by a system capable of carrying it to completion, and Diamond in the rough, at this midpoint, clarifies its deeper argument, that restoration is not a single act but a discipline, a daily recommitment to values that must be defended against convenience, nostalgia, and fear, and that the hardest thing to restore is not metal but habit, leaving the audience with the sense that Rust Valley is no longer fighting entropy blindly, but engaging it deliberately, one careful choice at a time. Part 7 advances with a steadier gait, the kind that only emerges once novelty has worn off and commitment is tested by repetition, and Rust Valley settles into its new discipline not as a revelation but as a grind, the daily practice of restraint proving far more demanding than the dramatic pivot that preceded it, and the episode opens on routine made visible, checklists reviewed, timelines updated, inventory reconciled, the mundane scaffolding of sustainability that rarely earns applause yet quietly determines survival, and Mike Hall moves within this structure with a conflicted grace, participating fully while still negotiating with the part of himself that thrives on spontaneity, and the camera captures this tension in small gestures, his hand hovering over a car he does not touch, a story begun and then deliberately cut short. Moments of self-interruption that signal growth through denial rather than indulgence, and Avery Shove, observing these adjustments, shifts his role once again, less architect now and more custodian, ensuring the systems hold while resisting the temptation to micromanage, and this trust is fragile, built not on blind faith but on consistent behavior, and Connor becomes the quiet axis around which the operation turns, translating process into practice, smoothing friction before it sparks, and the episode invests deeply in his perspective, framing the narrative through his increasing awareness that leadership is less about command and more about coherence, the ability to align people, tools, and time toward a shared outcome without erasing individuality, and this awareness is tested when the restoration hits a plateau, progress slowing not because of catastrophe but because precision demands patience, and the absence of visible change begins to weigh on morale, The crew, accustomed to the dopamine of transformation, now confronting the reality that most meaningful work looks static before it looks successful, and Rust Valley Restorers handles this lull with admirable restraint, allowing boredom and frustration to exist on screen without forcing conflict, and this choice deepens the authenticity of the story, acknowledging that endurance, not inspiration, defines the middle chapters of any long project, and Mike feels this acutely, his optimism dulled by repetition, his faith challenged not by failure but by sameness. And there is a poignant moment where he admits to Connor that he misses the early chaos, the feeling that anything could happen on any given day, and Connor responds with a measured honesty that reframes chaos not as freedom but as debt deferred, and this exchange crystallizes one of the episode's core insights, that stability often feels less alive because it refuses to stimulate fear, and the narrative then introduces a complication that tests this newfound equilibrium. A supply chain delay that threatens to stall progress entirely, and in earlier iterations of Rust Valley this would have triggered improvisation, substitutions made on instinct, but under the new philosophy the response is deliberate, alternatives researched, timelines adjusted transparently, and while this approach preserves quality, it also exposes vulnerability, because patience has a cost, and the crew feels it, overtime avoided, momentum sacrificed. And the show does not shy away from depicting the financial and emotional toll of doing things right, and Avery articulates this plainly, reminding everyone that discipline does not eliminate risk, it merely makes risk visible sooner, and this visibility is uncomfortable, stripping away the illusion that hard work alone guarantees success, and Mike absorbs this lesson with visible effort, his belief system recalibrating once again, and the episode broadens its lens to examine the yacht itself, now reframed as inventory rather than archive. And this reframing provokes resistance not only from Mike but from long-standing crew members who view the cars as cultural artifacts rather than assets, and a subtle ideological debate emerges, not hostile but persistent, about the purpose of preservation, whether saving a car requires restoring it fully or simply preventing its destruction, and this debate adds philosophical depth to the episode, situating Rust Valley within a larger conversation about heritage, stewardship, and capitalism, and the show wisely refuses to resolve this debate, presenting it instead as an ongoing tension that must be navigated rather than solved. And Connor finds himself mediating these discussions as well, recognizing that morale depends not just on clarity of task but on alignment of meaning, and he begins to articulate the vision more explicitly, framing restoration as a process that honors history through completion rather than accumulation, and this articulation resonates unevenly, inspiring some while alienating others, and the episode acknowledges this cost, reminding us that progress always leaves something behind. And midway through Part 7 the narrative introduces a moment of unexpected grace, a visit from a previous buyer who returns not to purchase but to see how Rust Valley has evolved, and this external validation functions as a mirror, reflecting change back to the team through fresh eyes, and Mike's pride surfaces here without defensiveness, his explanations measured, his enthusiasm grounded, and the visitor's observations reinforce that the yacht feels different, not smaller but clearer, and this clarity bolsters morale, offering proof that discipline can generate its own kind of inspiration. And the episode uses this visit to explore reputation as a living entity, shaped less by marketing than by consistency, and Avery seizes this insight to propose a modest public-facing initiative, not spectacle but transparency, documenting process rather than just results, and this proposal initially unsettles Mike, who fears exposure of imperfection. But Connor reframes it as education rather than exhibition, a way to share the ethic behind the work, and this reframing aligns with the show's own ethos, inviting viewers to appreciate the unseen labor that underpins transformation, and as this initiative takes shape, the crew engages with it cautiously, learning to articulate their decisions, to justify delays, to own mistakes publicly, and this act of articulation deepens accountability, making shortcuts harder to rationalize, and the restoration itself responds positively to this pressure. Progress resuming with renewed focus, Small milestones achieved, tolerances met, systems integrated, and while the car remains incomplete, its trajectory feels secure, and Mike's relationship with the process continues to evolve, his identity shifting from rescuer to mentor, a role that demands patience over possession, and there is a quietly powerful scene where he steps back during a critical task, resisting the urge to intervene, trusting Connor and the team to execute without his imprint. And this restraint is framed not as withdrawal but as generosity, an act of faith that honors the future over the past, and the episode further complicates this evolution by introducing a personal subplot, Mike confronting the physical limits of age during a demanding task, his body reminding him of constraints his mind resists, and this moment is handled with dignity, not dramatized, simply acknowledged, adding another layer to the urgency of sustainable change. And Avery's response to this moment is understated but supportive, reinforcing the theme that partnership now extends beyond business into care, and as the episode approaches its conclusion, the restoration reaches another critical junction, the kind that once would have triggered either exuberance or panic, and instead elicits measured assessment, options weighed calmly, decisions made collectively, and the absence of drama here is itself the payoff, evidence that systems can absorb stress without fracturing relationships. And the final sequence returns to the yard at dusk, the cast silhouetted against fading light, no longer oppressive but still demanding, and Mike walks through them with a different posture, not cataloging stories but assessing futures, and the camera lingers on his face as he recognizes that not every car will be saved, and that this truth no longer feels like betrayal, and Part 7 closes on this acceptance, not triumphant but resolute, reinforcing Diamond in the Rough's evolving thesis that maturity is not the abandonment of passion but its refinement, the willingness to choose depth over breadth, completion over accumulation, and discipline over impulse, leaving the narrative poised for the next phase, where consistency must prove it can outlast novelty, and where Rust Valley's transformation will be tested not by crisis but by time itself. Part 9 arrives at Rust Valley like a long, steady exhale after weeks of held breath, and the episode is structured around endurance rather than revelation, emphasizing that true transformation is not marked by dramatic turning points but by the quiet refusal to revert when fatigue sets in, and the opening image reflects this philosophy perfectly, the shop doors rolling up before sunrise, light spilling across concrete that bears the layered history of past chaos and present discipline, and Mike Hall is already there, not pacing this time, not wandering the yard in search of reassurance, but standing beside the current restoration with a clipboard in hand, a mundane object that once would have symbolized surrender to bureaucracy and now represents something closer to stewardship, and this subtle visual choice speaks volumes about how deeply change has taken root, because Mike is no longer performing restraint. He is practicing it instinctively, and Avery Shove arrives shortly after, greeting Mike not as an adversary or auditor but as a collaborator, their exchange brief and efficient, focus on milestones rather than philosophy, which in itself is a testament to progress, and Connor joins them, carrying the quiet authority of someone whose leadership has survived pressure without hardening, and the episode establishes early that the restoration is approaching a critical phase. Not the glamorous finishing touches but the convergence of systems, where mechanical, electrical, and aesthetic elements must align perfectly for the car to function as a whole, and this convergence becomes the episode's central metaphor, because Rust Valley itself is undergoing a similar test, its new processes and relationships required to integrate seamlessly under stress, and the show devotes considerable time to the painstaking work of alignment, wiring looms routed carefully, components tested and retested, tolerances checked with almost obsessive attention, and this focus on precision slows the narrative deliberately, daring the audience to appreciate patience as drama, and the crew's demeanor reflects this intensity, conversations clipped, humor sparse, not from tension but from concentration, and Mike's role during this phase is particularly telling, because he resists the urge to intervene, offering input only when asked, trusting Connor and the team to execute without his constant presence, and this restraint is not effortless, the camera catching moments where He steps forward then stops, hands flexing as if releasing a reflex, and these micro moments convey more character development than any monologue could, and Avery, observing this, provides reinforcement not through praise but through consistency, maintaining clear expectations, approving expenditures without argument when justified, and pushing back calmly when proposals drift beyond scope. And this balanced pressure creates a working environment that feels sustainable, a word rarely associated with Rust Valley in the past, and the episode then introduces a narrative complication that tests this sustainability, a supply chain delay on a critical component that threatens to stall progress, and the old Rust Valley would have reacted impulsively, scrambling for alternatives, cutting corners, or diverting attention to other projects. By this time the response is measured. Connor calls a meeting, options laid out, risks assessed, timelines recalibrated, and the decision is made to wait rather than compromise, a choice that feels almost radical in its discipline, and Mike supports this decision openly, acknowledging the frustration without undermining the process, and this unified front sends a clear signal to the crew that standards are no longer negotiable under pressure, and the waiting period becomes a narrative space for reflection. The episode using this forced pause to explore how the characters relate to time now that urgency is no longer fueled by chaos but by intention, and Mike uses the downtime not to roam the yard but to engage in long overdue organization. Cataloging inventory, reviewing past projects, confronting the sheer volume of unfinished promises he has accumulated over decades, and these scenes are quiet, almost meditative, the camera following him as he opens doors, lifts tarps, reads faded notes, and there is a palpable sense of reckoning here, not guilt-driven but clarifying, as if naming things reduces their power. And Avery joins him for part of this process, the two men walking side by side through rows of cars, discussing which vehicles still make sense under the new model and which represent some emotional cost, and this conversation is remarkable for its honesty, Mike admitting that some cars were acquired not because they could be saved but because he could not bear to refuse them, and Avery acknowledging that not all value is financial but insisting that even emotional value must be balanced against capacity. And this exchange deepens the thematic core of Diamond in the Rough, reinforcing that maturity lies not in rejecting passion but in contextualizing it, and Connor's arc in this episode continues to evolve as well, his leadership extending beyond the shop floor into mentorship, guiding less experienced crew members through complex tasks, correcting mistakes without humiliation, and this investment in others signals a long-term vision that contrasts sharply with the short-term firefighting of earlier seasons. And the show takes time to highlight these interactions, understanding that institutional change is transmitted through behavior rather than policy, and when the delayed component finally arrives, its installation becomes a test not of skill but of composure, the crew moving deliberately, resisting the temptation to rush, and the successful integration of the part feels quietly triumphant, a payoff earned through restraint rather than effort alone, and the restoration moves closer to completion, its identity now clear. Not an overpolished fantasy but an honest revival that respects both origin and function, and as the car takes shape, external interest resurfaces, inquiries coming in with greater frequency, and the episode treats these not as plot twists but as background pressure, emphasizing that opportunity is constant but discernment is learned, and Mike's responses to these inquiries demonstrate how far he has come, deferring decisions, gathering information, consulting Connor and Avery before committing, and this collective decision-making process stands in stark contrast to his former unilateral instincts, and the narrative tension of Part 9 does not hinge on whether a deal will be made but on whether the system will hold under the weight of possibility, and the system does hold, absorbing interest without distortion, and this resilience becomes the episode's quiet climax, because it suggests that Rust Valley's transformation is no longer fragile, and the episode then introduces a moment of vulnerability that grounds this progress emotionally, a conversation between Mike and Connor late at night, the shop empty, the car resting under lights that hum softly, and Mike speaks candidly about fear, not of failure but of relevance, admitting that stepping back has forced him to confront the possibility that Rust Valley might thrive without his constant imprint, and Connor listens without rushing to reassure, understanding that this fear is not about ego but about identity. And his response is measured, affirming that legacy is not diminished by delegation but defined by it, and this exchange crystallizes the generational theme that has run quietly through the series, that succession is not replacement but evolution, and the episode reinforces this by showing Mike the next day deliberately leaving the shop earlier than usual, trusting the team to continue without him, a small act with enormous symbolic weight, and the crew rises to the occasion, tasks completed, standards maintained, and when Mike returns, he observes rather than directs, his pride evident but controlled, and the restoration reaches a significant milestone, not completion but coherence, the moment when all systems communicate, when the car becomes more than a collection of repaired parts and starts to function as a unified whole, and this coherence mirrors the state of Rust Valley itself, a place once defined by accumulation now defined by integration, and the episode closes with a long, contemplative sequence, the car tested under real conditions, not dramatized but observed, data collected, adjustments noted, and the tone is almost scientific, underscoring that success here is measured not by spectacle but by reliability, and as the sun sets over the yard, the camera pulls back to reveal the familiar landscape of rusted silhouettes, unchanged yet recontextualized, no longer a symbol of failure but of potential bounded by choice, and Mike stands at the edge of the yard, not scanning for the next rescue but reflecting on what has already been reclaimed, and the final image lingers on his expression, calm, resolved, and quietly determined, signaling that Diamond in the Rough has entered a phase where the central question is no longer whether Rust Valley can change, but whether it can endure this change over time, and Part 9 leaves us with the sense that endurance, unlike passion, is built slowly, through repetition, restraint, and the courage to let systems, and people, grow beyond their creator's shadow. Part 10 arrives at a moment where Rust Valley no longer feels like a place in crisis but a place under examination, as though the land, the people, and the systems now pause collectively to ask whether endurance alone is enough, and the episode opens with winter creeping into the valley, frost settling over rusted hoods like a thin veil, transforming the yard into something almost ceremonial. The cars align like relics awaiting judgment, and Mike Hall feels the season change more sharply than most, not because of the cold but because winter has always been his enemy, slowing projects, magnifying mistakes, and exposing weak planning, and this time the show makes winter less a backdrop and more a character, an impartial force that rewards preparation and punishes nostalgia, and the narrative immediately establishes that Rust Valley is entering a proving phase, not defined by a single restoration but by consistency across multiple pressures, and Avery Shove introduces this reality with characteristic bluntness, presenting a seasonal forecast that includes reduced productivity, increased costs, and tighter buyer interest, and unlike earlier seasons of the story, this forecast is not met with resistance but with engagement, Mike leaning in, asking what can realistically be achieved rather than what he wishes could happen, and this subtle shift in posture signals how far his mindset has evolved, because now he measures ambition against capacity rather than against memory, and Connor, increasingly comfortable as operational lead, reframes winter not as a slowdown but as an audit, an opportunity to refine systems without the distraction of constant intake, and this reframing becomes the thematic spine of Part 10, the idea that pauses are not failures but tests of integrity, and the episode structures itself around that audit, moving deliberately through different layers of Rust Valley, the shop, the yard, the books, the people, and the relationships, each examined with the same unflinching honesty once reserved only for Russ and Rod, and the first layer is mechanical discipline, where the current restoration reaches a critical assembly stage, a point where errors compound invisibly beneath finished surfaces, and the show lingers on inspections, torque checks, alignment confirmations, scenes that would normally be condensed or skipped, but here they are given narrative weight, emphasizing that trust is built not on visible shine but on invisible correctness, and Mike participates in these checks not as overseer but as student, asking Connor to explain choices, tolerances, reasoning, and this role reversal is striking, not humiliating but affirming, a recognition that legacy is strongest when it allows itself to be surpassed, and the episode uses these exchanges to explore how authority changes shape over time, from command to curiosity. And this evolution resonates deeply in the quieter moments, like when Mike admits that for years he confused being needed with being indispensable, and that learning to step back feels both freeing and terrifying, and Avery, listening nearby, responds not with reassurance but with alignment, noting that sustainability requires redundancy, not heroics, a line that lands with understated power because it reframes success as something impersonal, even humble, and the narrative then widens to include the crew, whose reactions to winter and discipline vary, one mechanic thriving in the structured pace, another growing restless, missing the adrenaline of rapid turnarounds, and the show treats these responses with respect, acknowledging that not every personality fits every system, and Connor faces a leadership challenge here, deciding whether to adapt the system to the individual or accept that growth sometimes requires turnover, and this dilemma is handled without melodrama, a series of conversations rather than confrontations, and when a crew member ultimately decides to step away, the moment is framed not as failure but as alignment, an acknowledgement that Rust Valley's evolution will not carry everyone forward, and this honesty adds emotional maturity to the narrative, reinforcing that restoration is selective by nature, preserving what can function within a given structure, and the second layer of the audit focuses on inventory, the yacht itself undergoing its most rigorous evaluation yet, vehicles tagged not by sentiment but by strategy, some designated for future restoration, others for parts, others for sale assets, and this process is emotionally taxing for Mike, each tag a verdict, and the show does not shy away from his discomfort, capturing moments where he pauses, reconsidering, bargaining silently with himself, and ultimately accepting decisions that would have been unthinkable earlier in the story, and this acceptance is not portrayed as detachment but as discernment, a skill learned through pain, and Avery's role here is both catalyst and restraint, pushing for clarity while respecting the emotional gravity of each choice, and Connor acts as translator. Again, bridging numbers and narratives, ensuring that decisions honor both survival and identity, and the episode uses these scenes to articulate one of Diamond in the Rough's most mature ideas, that value is not diminished by limits but clarified by them, and that abundance without curation becomes noise rather than wealth, and as winter deepens, the third layer of the audit emerges, reputation. With Rust Valley now operating under greater scrutiny than ever, potential buyers watching patterns rather than promises, and the show introduces a small but telling subplot where a minor delay threatens to ripple outward through perception, and the team's response is calm, transparent communication rather than defensive explanation, and this response, though unspectacular, marks a profound cultural shift, because it prioritizes trust over image, and Mike's participation in this communication is particularly noteworthy, his tone measured, his language precise, resisting the urge to embellish. And the result is respect rather than pressure, a validation that the new Rust Valley is being seen and understood, and the episode then turns inward again, exploring the personal toll of sustained discipline, especially on Mike, whose identity has long been tied to motion, acquisition, and constant engagement, and winter's slower rhythm forces him into reflection he cannot outrun. And there is a hauntingly quiet sequence where he sits alone in the shop after hours, reviewing old photographs of the yacht, images of cars arriving, deals made, moments once celebrated now tinged with excess, and his reaction is complex, not regret exactly, but clarity, and understanding that survival required the man he was then, but sustainability requires someone else now, and this internal reckoning is mirrored in a conversation with Connor that forms the emotional core of Part 10, where Mike admits fear not of failure but of irrelevance, and Connor responds by reframing relevance as contribution rather than control, reminding his father that wisdom only becomes legacy when it is shared rather than imposed, And this exchange is understated yet powerful, because it resolves a tension built across multiple parts, not through declaration but through mutual recognition, and the narrative then transitions to the near completion of the current restoration, the car assembled, tested, refined. Its quality evident not in glamour shots but in the confidence of those who built it, and the winter test. Drive becomes a symbolic trial, the vehicle navigating cold roads, responding reliably, proving that discipline produces durability, and the team's satisfaction is quiet but deep, not the thrill of rescue but the pride of execution, and Avery's assessment afterward is measured, confirming that costs were controlled, timelines respected, and standards upheld. And this confirmation feels like an earned affirmation rather than validation sought, and the episode uses this moment to pause, allowing the audience to feel the weight of cumulative change, and as Part 10 approaches its end, the show introduces a forward-looking question, not about the next car but about scale, whether Rust Valley can expand this model without diluting it, whether growth will reintroduce the very chaos they have worked to discipline, and this question is left intentionally unresolved, because Diamond in the Rough has matured beyond simple arcs, embracing uncertainty as a permanent condition rather than a problem to be solved. And the final images of the episode reinforce this maturity, snow falling over the yard, covering rust and shine alike, leveling appearances without erasing substance, and Mike, Avery, and Connor standing together at the shop door, not triumphant, not anxious, but attentive, watching the weather, understanding that restoration, like stewardship, is never finished, only maintained, and that the true test is not whether Rust Valley can survive winter, but whether it can remember who it chose to become when conditions grow harsh again, and Part 10 closes with that thought. Hanging in the cold air, a quiet, demanding question rather than an answer, signaling that the endgame is no longer about rescue or redemption, but about continuity earned through restraint, clarity, and the courage to let systems, not impulses, carry the weight of the future. Part 11 arrives at Rust Valley with the weight of accumulated history pressing against the narrowing horizon, the sense that choices made long ago are finally converging into outcomes that can no longer be postponed, and the episode opens before dawn, the yard barely visible in the half-light, silhouettes of cars emerging like memories that refuse to stay buried, and Mike Hall is already awake, moving through the rows with a familiarity that borders on ritual, his footsteps slow, deliberate, as if he is counting time not in minutes but in decisions, and this atmosphere sets the tone immediately, because Part 11 is not concerned with beginnings but with reckoning, with the quiet but irreversible moment when a philosophy must prove itself under strain, and the strain comes quickly, not through catastrophe but through convergence, several timelines colliding at once, the current restoration nearing completion, negotiations with potential buyers overlapping, and the broader restructuring of Rust Valley entering a phase where intentions must harden into policy, and Avery Schoaf's role in this episode is especially pronounced, not louder, not harsher, but more present, his influence visible in the systems now embedded in daily operations, the schedules adhered to, the checklists consulted, the financial reviews treated as routine rather than intrusion, and Mike, though still visibly uncomfortable with the language of margins and projections, engages fully, no longer seeing these tools as threats but as instruments that can protect what he values most, and this shift is underscored in a scene where Mike himself initiates a review meeting, something unthinkable in earlier chapters of Diamond in the Rough, and the crew reacts with mild surprise, recognizing that leadership here has changed not through decree but through example, and Connor Hall stands at the center of this evolving dynamic, his authority now unquestioned on the shop floor, his decisions accepted with trust rather than negotiation, and yet Part 11 takes care to show that authority does not bring certainty, that Connor's confidence is paired with a growing awareness of consequence, because each call he makes now affects not just a single build but the credibility of the entire operation, and the episode deepens this tension by introducing a critical external deadline. An opportunity that could elevate Rust Valley's profile significantly if met, but only if the current restoration is delivered flawlessly and on time, and this deadline becomes the crucible in which all previous lessons are tested, because it demands precision without panic, speed without shortcuts, and unity without suppression, and the narrative carefully traces how the team responds, not with bravado but with focus, tasks redistributed, hours extended, but boundaries respected, fatigue acknowledged rather than romanticized. And this balance is fragile, tested repeatedly by small failures, a part that arrives late, a measurement that must be redone, a supplier error that cascades into delay, and in earlier seasons such setbacks would have triggered improvisation bordering on chaos, but here the response is structured, contingency plans activated, decisions documented, and while this approach lacks drama on the surface, the emotional tension is immense, because discipline is harder to maintain than reaction, and Mike's struggle is particularly compelling, his instinct still urging him to intervene emotionally, to motivate through story and intensity, yet he holds back, trusting the system and the people within it, and this restraint costs him visibly, his restlessness manifesting in pacing, in moments where he almost speaks and then chooses silence, and the camera captures these hesitations with sensitivity, framing them as acts of courage rather than passivity, and Part 11 also turns its gaze outward, examining how Rust Valley is now perceived beyond its fences, inquiries coming in from collectors who once dismissed the operation as unfocused, reputational repair unfolding slowly, cautiously. And Avery navigates these interactions with calculated transparency, refusing to oversell, setting expectations conservatively, a strategy that frustrates Mike initially, who fears missing momentum, but Avery explains, patiently, that trust rebuilt too quickly is often rebuilt shallowly, and this perspective resonates as the episode progresses, reinforcing the theme that sustainability is built through consistency rather than spectacle, and the restoration itself enters its final technical phase, the stage where errors are least visible but most consequential, alignments, tolerances, finishes that must withstand scrutiny from experts rather than enthusiasts, and Connor's leadership shines here, his insistence on verification over assumption preventing mistakes that would once have slipped through unnoticed, and the crew, though tired, responds with professionalism, their pride no longer tied solely to the object but to the process that brought it into being, and this cultural shift is perhaps the most significant transformation depicted in Diamond in the Rough, because it suggests that Rust Valley is no longer dependent on Mike's singular vision but supported by shared standards, and yet the episode refuses to marginalize Mike, instead reframing his role as custodian of meaning, the keeper of why rather than the manager of how, and there is a poignant scene where he speaks to a visiting buyer not about horsepower or resale value but about responsibility, about the obligation to honor what these cars represent, and this speech, understated and sincere, reframes the transaction as a transfer of stewardship rather than ownership, and the buyer responds with respect, signaling that Mike's values still matter, perhaps more now than ever, and as the deadline approaches, tension tightens, the schedule compressed to its limits, and Part 11 excels in depicting collective effort without resorting to montage cliches, choosing instead to show individual moments of strain, a mechanic pausing to steady shaking hands, Connor reviewing notes late into the night, Avery recalculating margins one last time, and Mike watching from the periphery, offering quiet support rather than direction, and when a final obstacle emerges, a defect discovered at the last possible moment, the response becomes the episode's emotional climax, because it tests whether the new Rust Valley will revert under pressure, and the decision is made unanimously to address the issue properly, even if it risks missing the opportunity, and this unanimity is key, signaling that the transformation has reached a point where values are shared rather than imposed, and the repair is executed with precision under intense time constraint, the atmosphere focused, almost reverent, and when the job is done, the relief is profound but restrained, no cheers, no declarations, just a collective exhale, and the outcome of the deadline is ultimately favorable, the opportunity secured, the restoration accepted, and yet the episode does not linger on celebration, instead shifting immediately to reflection, asking what this success demands going forward, because now expectations have been raised permanently, and Mike articulates this in a rare moment of explicit self-awareness, acknowledging that Rust Valley can no longer afford to be a place where potential outweighs delivery. And this acknowledgement feels like a closing of a long internal debate, and the episode's final act returns to the yard at night, the cars quiet, unchanged in appearance yet altered in meaning, and Mike walks once more among them, but this time his gaze is different, not overwhelmed, not indulgent, but evaluative, and there is no sadness in this, only clarity, and the final image of Part 11 holds on Mike standing at the edge of the yard, the shop lights behind him, the darkness ahead, and the sense that while the hardest work has been done internally, the most consequential chapter still lies ahead, because transformation, once proven, must be defended against complacency, and Diamond in the Rough positions itself here as a story not about redemption completed but about responsibility accepted, setting the stage for a final reckoning where Rust Valley's future will be defined not by a single success but by whether it can live with the standards it has finally claimed as its own. Part 12 arrives not with spectacle but with the accumulated gravity of everything that has come before, the quiet weight of decisions layered upon decisions, and Rust Valley feels different now in ways that are difficult to articulate but impossible to ignore, as if the land itself has adjusted to a new rhythm, and the episode opens before dawn, mist hanging low over the yard, the silhouettes of cars no longer reading as an overwhelming mass but as a finite horizon, and Mike Hall walks alone among them, his steps unhurried, his posture reflective rather than restless, and this image immediately signals that the story has shifted from struggle to reckoning, because Diamond in the Rough has never been about whether Rust Valley can survive but about what it must become in order to deserve survival, and the final chapter commits fully to that question, framing its narrative around closure without finality, resolution without erasure, and the day unfolds with deliberate symmetry, mirroring earlier episodes while subverting their emotional charge, and the shop comes alive gradually, Connor arriving first, reviewing the status board with the calm assurance of someone who no longer needs to prove authority, and Avery following, his presence steady, purposeful, no longer the disruptor but an integral axis around which decisions rotate, and their brief exchange is efficient, almost mundane, yet loaded with significance because it demonstrates how far the operation has come. Conflict replaced by coordination, tension replaced by trust, and the car at the center of this final episode, the last major restoration under the new system, sits complete, not immaculate in a showroom sense but honest, solid, carrying the marks of thoughtful craftsmanship rather than performative perfection, and the camera resists glamorizing it, choosing instead to focus on process documentation, final checks, signatures, the quiet rituals that mark completion in real work rather than television fantasy, and Mike joins them, not as overseer but as participant, contributing where needed, stepping back when not, and this balance feels earned, the culmination of a season-long arc in which control has been replaced by stewardship, and the narrative then introduces the final transaction, the last test of everything Rust Valley has learned, a buyer whose expectations are clear, whose respect must be earned through transparency rather than charm, and the negotiation unfolds with a calm professionalism that would have been unthinkable at the beginning of Diamond in the Rough, terms discussed openly, limitations acknowledged without apology, and Mike's role in this exchange is particularly revealing, because he speaks not in grand narratives but in specifics, explaining choices, justifying compromises, owning imperfections, and this honesty resonates, transforming vulnerability into credibility, and when the deal is finalized, the satisfaction is quiet but profound, not because of the number attached but because it confirms that the new model works without betraying the past, and the departure of the car is handled with restraint, no ceremony beyond what the moment deserves, the vehicle rolling out as others have before it, yet this time the emptiness left behind does not feel like loss but like alignment, space created intentionally rather than by necessity, and the episode uses this departure as a pivot point, widening its lens to examine Rust Valley itself. not as a collection of objects but as a system of values now clearly articulated, and Mike gathers the crew, not for a dramatic speech but for an honest conversation about what comes next, and this scene is the emotional core of Part 12, because it is here that the series confronts its own thesis, that restoration is sustainable only when it acknowledges limits, and Mike speaks openly about his past, about how fear of endings drove him to accumulate beginnings, how the yacht became both refuge and burden, and this confession is not framed as regret but as understanding, the clarity that arrives only after change has been enacted rather than promised, and he acknowledges Connor's leadership without framing it as inheritance, emphasizing partnership rather than succession, and this distinction matters, because it reframes legacy as shared responsibility rather than unilateral transfer, and Connor responds with equal candor, expressing gratitude without obligation, commitment without sacrifice of self, and their exchange resolves a tension that has underpinned the entire narrative, the fear that growth for one must diminish the other, and Avery's contribution to this conversation is measured but meaningful, affirming that discipline and passion are not opposites but complements, and that the success of Rust Valley now lies not in the number of cars restored but in the consistency of choices made, and the crew's reactions vary, some relieved, some uncertain, all attentive, because change always leaves questions in its wake, and the episode honors this ambiguity rather than smoothing it over, allowing uncertainty to coexist with optimism, and as the day progresses, the camera returns repeatedly to the yacht, documenting it not as spectacle but as context, the cars still waiting, some destined for restoration, others for release, and this differentiation is crucial, because it represents the final maturation of Rust Valley's philosophy, that value is not universal but contextual, and that letting go can be an act of respect rather than abandonment, and Mike demonstrates this evolution in a poignant scene where he selects a vehicle to part with, not out of financial desperation but strategic clarity, acknowledging its story, honoring its place, and choosing release, and this moment echoes the earliest episodes but with reverse emotional polarity, where once release felt like failure, it now feels like completion, and the episode intercuts this decision with reflections on time, not as an enemy to be outrun but as a parameter to be respected, and Mike's awareness of his own aging is present but not dominant, framed not as decline but as perspective, the understanding that sustainability requires preparing others to continue without replicating one's own mistakes, and the narrative then moves toward evening, the shop closing down with a sense of routine rather than exhaustion, lights dimming, tools returned, the space orderly but lived in. And this ordinariness is perhaps the most radical achievement of Diamond in the Rough, because it reframes success as something that can be repeated without spectacle, and the final sequences of Part 12 are contemplative, the camera following Mike one last time through the yacht at dusk, his interactions minimal, his attention focused, and he pauses beside a car not selected, not rejected, simply waiting, and he does not touch it, does not promise anything aloud. And this restraint encapsulates the season's transformation more eloquently than any monologue could, because it demonstrates respect for potential without entitlement, and the closing images interweave past and present, flashes of earlier chaos contrasted with the current order, not to celebrate superiority but to acknowledge evolution, and the sound design reinforces this, the clang of metal replaced by softer ambient tones, wind through trees, distant birds, grounding Rust Valley in its environment rather than isolating it as an obsession. And the final moments bring the trio together once more, Mike, Connor, and Avery standing at the threshold of the shop, looking inward rather than outward, and their conversation is brief, practical, forward-looking, devoid of grand declarations, because the work now speaks for itself, and as they turn off the lights and walk away, the camera lingers not on what remains undone but on what has been learned, and Diamond in the Rough concludes with a clarity that feels earned rather than imposed, asserting that restoration, whether of machines, relationships, or selves, is not about returning to an imagined past but about constructing a viable future from imperfect materials, and Rust Valley, once a monument to accumulation, now stands as a testament to discernment, proving that the true diamond was never a single cow but a willingness to cut away excess, to accept limits, and to find value not in saving everything, but in saving what matters. And in this final chapter, the story does not end so much as it settles, confident enough in its foundation to continue without constant justification, leaving the audience with the understanding that transformation is not a moment, but a practice, one that must be renewed daily, quietly, and with intention.